This world is called the Blue Star. The level of technology is almost the same as in the previous stage of development. However, there are terrifying, bloodthirsty, ferocious beasts here. And not only that, there are also awakened ones in this world, who have superpowers that can resist these monsters. When our hero landed on the Blue Star, he realized that he couldn't hide from the monsters. Our hero had a weak electric discharge. The electric shock's power isn't particularly strong, and our hero was saddened that he'd awakened with the weakest ability, but soon realized he was wrong to be sad. Danger is always a chance. He was able to evolve his ability. Divine thunder descends from the sky. But all this is in the future. Now let's return to the present, where our hero is sitting in the classroom and listening to the teacher. The teacher hinted to our hero that there was a risk of death when taking the specialized subjects. Awakened people with rank E were not recommended to take the test. Simon immediately got the hint and asked if they were referring to him. Our hero's name is Simon, and he traveled through time. Besides everything else, in this world, everyone at 16 awakens superpowers. They come in different types. The quality of superpowers also varies. They are divided into 9 ranks. Most people can only awaken to F or D. As we have already learned, our hero has a weak electric charge. He is at rank E. Some guy started to get angry at Simon. He tried to humiliate him, insulting him. But the girl interrupted him and told Ten to watch himself. Then Ten looked at her with displeasure, and he said he would show them who was the best on the unified exam, and this Simon would die in the first minute. He left. Then Layla began to console him, saying that everyone is valuable in their own way. But it seemed that she did not believe in him either, because, as she suggested, she should choose humanities subjects. In the country where Simon is located, higher education is divided into humanities and specialized subjects. If the level of superpowers is low, or a person is not confident in combat skills, one can choose humanities subjects. Those choosing specialized subjects must pass a test on the Unified State exam. Only after successfully passing can they enroll in a university for the superpowered. The teacher and Layla are worried that Simon might get hurt, because this is a dangerous and unpredictable world, even if he passes the exam. The danger of animal attacks is always nearby. The parents of the body's previous owner died from those very same animals. Simon didn't want to find himself in a similar situation again without the ability to fight back, so he chose the profile exam. The sun had already begun to set, but our hero continued to train, using his ability. When he got tired, he plopped down on the hard floor. Simon didn't want to train anymore. After awakening his superpowers, he chose the long spear as his weapon, and has been practicing it for 2.5 years. His skills remained at the initial level, but the lightning whirlwind combat skill purchased for 300,000 coins helps him become stronger than other awakened E-rank students. However, the mortality rate among students of his rank is increasing year by year. Simon wants to get into the University of the Superpowered, even if it means fighting to the death. When Simon extended his hand, a system window appeared, which seemed to be Simon's first time seeing something like this. Because he himself did not expect it, he was curious that within this system, as a newcomer's gift, he was given 200 points. And these glasses were S rank. Even such a powerful country as Dust needs 3 to 4 years to awaken. As soon as such a person appears, top-level universities begin to compete for him, presenting enormous resources. In order to raise the strongest out of her or him, it turns out that even our hero has a chance to change fate. Simon happily pressed the button. His abilities began to increase sharply. An electric discharge passed through his body. The strength of the discharge increased with each passing minute, and soon the strength was so great that it started a fire in the house. Passers-by noticed the fire and realized it was Simon's house, so they quickly called the fire department. They were worried about him, and Simon had to endure terrible pain in order to level up. The sky began to darken, and soon an electric dragon appeared in the sky, visible to everyone. Then, some important man said that there was heavy pressure in the air, and it looked like there would be an attack by beasts with electrical abilities. Therefore, he called together the 3rd Military Corps of the year and ordered them to prepare for battle. They didn't know that this wasn't an attack on the beast. This dragon was flying towards our hero. Simon was able to endure the pain and finally obtained the S-rank skill, Purple Lightning. It was fundamentally different from his previous ability. It could finish off a person with one blow, but there was a downside. The movement was too powerful. The training hall barely survived. Taking this into account, Simon decided to test his gift. You can get points by killing animals. You can see the number of points and pumping parameters. Tomorrow is the entrance exam. Simon decided to use all the super ability points on the spear to increase his combat power. Superpowers essentially come from the spirit and body of a person, so they must first be empowered. Simon spent the points and the system immediately began to enhance his abilities. Then Simon didn't waste a minute and tried his hand. The improvements were obvious. After improving their basic characteristics, whether it was using combat techniques or controlling superpowers, their strength became greater. Both base stats increased by 20 points, which is equivalent to 1 point of superpower, 0.2 strength. With his current strength, he will easily enter the university for superpowered people. Now Simon was wondering where he would rank among more than 700,000 candidates. How will he look among the geniuses who spent their entire lives to achieve the level that Simon accidentally achieved? Just as Simon was imagining how he would train, the firefighters burst in on him. The firefighters said that they received an emergency call. They said there was a fire. Simon replied calmly, "Most likely these are wave fluctuations caused by training superpowers. Everything is fine." Then the firefighters breathed a sigh of relief and canceled the additional group, asking Simon not to make such noise anymore. Simon came out and was immediately surrounded. He immediately told them that he was fine and that he was going to training. In order for an awakened one to become a master, he must train his body and spirit to increase the effectiveness of his superpowers. Therefore, martial arts halls were created to provide training facilities and educational services. But not every family can afford a private training hall. The most famous venues are Thunder Square and Fierce Bear Square. The annual fee in the Fierce Bear is 100,000, and the Thunder site is free. Suddenly Simon noticed Tess. This is Simon's cousin. He decided to say hello. He asked if she had also come to the Thunder Arena. Tess answered, "Yes, with a friend." Then Simon said, "Well, she's busy too, so he'll go to the hall." Tess was puzzled. After all, Simon's behavior had changed radically. Her friend asked who he was. It seemed she liked him. Tess told who he was. The guy next to her asked what Sonny was up to, and the girl replied, "He's such a handsome guy. They would look good together." Tess revealed that Simon had only awakened an E-rank ability, leaving Sonny heartbroken from disappointment. Then the guy said that Simon had enough courage. What a great guy, but Tess didn't think so. After all, he could get seriously hurt, and it would be better if he refused. Sonny interrupted her and pulled her forward, because they came on an excursion. This excursion was supposed to help them before the upcoming exam. Simon noticed that the spear had changed, perhaps because Simon himself had become stronger. But tomorrow is the main exam. There is no time to look for a more suitable weapon. First, he decided to test his strength. Without the support of his abilities, Simon swung his spear and struck the target. The training room is made of alloy metal, which automatically restores itself within the impact zone. Muscle strength has doubled, even with the strongest muscle potential of only 100 power, and he received 320. Now it was time to test the power with divine lightning. This time Simon did not use the spear, and from this blow he received 3,000 points. Nothing else could be expected from an S-rank ability. The attack power of the first rank ability is only 100 points. He has not yet passed the first rank, but with the help of the ability, he can now deliver more powerful blows. And this is not the limit. Muscle strength, abilities, and combat techniques. This is his strongest move. Simon gathered everything he had and hit the target again, the blow causing an explosion. And this was enough to cause an earthquake in the building. Everyone present felt it. Strong energy waves. "This is definitely the awakened level," the guy said. Sonny said, "This floor is for high school students. But all the awakened ones are training in the ferocious bear." So Tess suggested to see who was there. She said the energy fluctuations must be coming from somewhere nearby. Simon came out into the corridor at the same time. They met, and Tess asked if he was getting ready to go home. And Simon replied that he wanted to come back early, so Tess wished him good luck on the exam and asked him to be careful. The guy asked them to stop chatting and come in, and when they did, they saw devastation. They were, of course, shocked, because even the memory metal had fallen apart, and they wondered who had been there. The guy still feels the power and fury of this attack. Then he decided that there was a second-rank warrior here. All the boys were sure that a schoolboy could not have created such a blow. Then Sonny remembered that Simon had just passed by them, and decided that Simon was a hidden genius, who hid her power to stun everyone in the exam, and even though she was right, no one believed her. The guy said that the corridor goes in both directions, so that powerful supermind must have gone in the opposite direction, and that's why they didn't see it. Meanwhile, Tess was lost in her thoughts and noticed marks that looked like those left by a spear. And I remembered that Simon had a spear, and I wondered if Simon had really done it. The day of the exam arrived. The school children were brought in by buses, and a large crowd had already formed. Several guys shouted, "There's a one-horned rhinoceros there. In previous years we came across ordinary creatures, tenicots, but now it's brutal." But one guy wasn't impressed. He asked, "So what if there was a one-horned rhinoceros there? Even if they can't handle this, they're not worth a dime." Simon asked who opened their mouth there. Simon's best friend, Luke, replied, "This is Ming. He has a B-class ability. and his strength has already broken through the limit of the unranked stage. A genius, he claims first place, Simon, with a show-off, thought who is stronger than him, that he accidentally became strong. Or a guy who spent time and effort to become strong, suddenly a man shouted, attracting the attention of candidates. His name is Hank, the commander-in-chief of this military exam. Before they begin, he would like to go over the safety rules again. This year, the military exam runs from 9 in the morning until 9 in the evening, lasting 12 hours. The venue is a destroyed city. As in previous years, the testing area is divided into outskirts. Different ferocious beasts give different amounts of points depending on their type and level. The core of the zone is the buildings of increased complexity. Just the day before yesterday, Simon only dared to wander around the outskirts. But he was lucky, and now he can go into the core without fear. They will also be given materials for the exam. After joining the queue, Simon received his bag. Smartwatch, tracks the number and type of animals killed, tactical backpack, safety ball. After using the ball, the student's exam will end early. The teacher reminded him that life is more important than any points. Layla invited Simon to join their team. Luke promised to cover for him. But everyone was happy about this. They didn't want to take Simon into the team, hinting that he was weak. Then Luke shouted, so they changed their minds at the last moment. Although they had already agreed, they began to argue heatedly, and Simon watched awkwardly as they refused to take him into the team. And finally deciding to intervene in their argument, he stopped Luke and said that he was grateful for his help. But he decided to go to the exam alone and let them go in a group. His friends were against it. However, Simon insisted on his own. He said confidently that even without them, he would be able to score high marks. The exam began, the gates opened, and the students ran into the ruined city. Simon turned on the watch and the system officially registered him. Simon's current rating is 179. Min is already in first place. The first terrifying school is impressive. They have already started to destroy the beasts. It was time for Simon to take action. The central zone was still quite far away. He decided to go straight there. But when he reached it, he froze. The corpse of his classmate lay in front of him. The guy didn't even have time to use the safety ball. Now Simon understands why the teacher advised him so many times to abandon the exam. Although it is not the time to regret the step taken, the military exam is a brutal test. Opportunities often come with risks, and not everyone has the chance to change their destiny. It's good that the guy was still alive, albeit in critical condition. It turned out the monster left him alive to set up an ambush. The cat set up an ambush for anyone who approached the wounded boy. It seemed the animals were intelligent. With a nimble body, deadly claws, and a jaw grip that can weigh over a ton, he is rightfully called the killer of newbies. The reason they have the word ferocious in their name is because they possess a special aura of fury that can overwhelm prey. Most awakened ones, when confronted with such a beast for the first time, become helpless under the pressure of this aura. That's why rich families teach their children to get used to them from childhood, of course. Simon doesn't have such a privilege. The cat attacked Simon, and he plunged his spear into her without a second thought. Fierce beasts are divided into 9 ranks, from 1st to 9th. Anything below 1st rank is considered unranked and corresponds to awakened humans. Killing ferocious beasts gives him ability points that increase his power, but unranked beasts give very little. Since the aura of the ferocious beasts has almost no effect on him, there is no point in lingering in the outer zone. We need to get to the central zone as quickly as possible. Once we get to the center, Simon kills animals along the way. He has already accumulated a good number of points, but he lacks real combat experience. The Purple Heaven Divine Thunder instantly kills rankless beasts, but it won't be able to truly develop its strength. Moreover, the higher the rank of the ability, the more energy it consumes. If he uses the Purple Heavenly Thunder at full capacity, he won't last even an hour. Previously, his E-rank weak rank technique lasted for over 3 hours, but the martial arts exam lasted 12. Before entering the core, he didn't want to waste his strength, so he wanted to kill the beasts only with a spear. To gain combat experience, Simon is about to stick to his plan when he is attacked by a rhinoceros. Even though Simon claimed he had no combat experience, he held himself confidently. Now he deals with animals much faster. Maybe the spear technique has broken through to a new level. Simon checked his status window, and sure enough, the spear technique had broken through to the intermediate level. Then he decided to improve his technique, and there was no need to try. Simon received all the knowledge on a silver spoon. Simon gained experience so easily that he couldn't wait to meet the ferocious first-rank beast. Meanwhile, the guys were passing by, and Layla noticed a silhouette. She immediately realized that it was Simon. But her partners assured her that she was just imagining things, and that Simon couldn't possibly be there. However, Layla was sure that she saw Simon. Luke was interested in where Simon was and what he was doing. Then they noticed the corpse of a rhinoceros. The blood had not yet dried. It had been killed recently. Layla noticed the spear marks and immediately said, "It was definitely Simon. He has a spear like that." But this time, the guys began to convince her that it couldn't be Simon because he had an E rank. One of the guys suggested checking whether Simon really did it. Just check his rating. Layla checked, and they found out that it was really him, which she had no doubt about. And the guys, even after they saw his place in the ranking, continued to doubt and shout that it wasn't him. The entire battle was watched from outside the arena. It all resembled the Hunger Games. The fat man repeated that the first school, as always, produces the best results. And the other old men fawned on him while he boasted about the achievements of the students of his school. It seemed like this man was important. Everyone was trying to grovel to him and get his approval. The old man from the second school, who had not received approval, asked his students to try harder, in his mind. Suddenly he noticed Simon's name. His old man didn't know it. It was the first time he heard this name, and seeing the result, he decided that he was from a privileged class. When Simon's class teacher saw that Simon was at the top of the list, he was shocked. It makes sense. He thought Simon was an E rank. Maybe he was hiding his strength. But even if he was hiding it, could an E rank suddenly turn into an S rank? Only the top 10 have a dedicated camera angle, so the teacher couldn't find any footage of Simon. In the central zone, after entering, the number of ferocious beasts has noticeably decreased, as rank-up beasts have the makings of intelligence and a sense of territory, which makes them much more difficult to deal with than non-ranked ones. Here he is. First rank ferocious beast, Blade Tiger. It seems Simon was lucky. He just entered the central zone, and I've already encountered a first-rank beast. The perfect moment to test my spear technique. Simon immediately attacked the beast, which also did not hesitate, but Simon deftly dodged its attacks. The beast's paws were already trembling. It seemed that this was all the strength that a first-rank tiger in armor was capable of. It seems that only the Tiger King can make our gifted one put in a little more effort. Simon attacked the kitten again, and dodging its claws, thrust his spear into the cat. It seemed like this was the end, but the cat still had some strength left, so he attacked again. As expected from a first-rank beast, its survivability is truly amazing. The cat was still trying to resist. Then Simon decided to attack again, so he stopped. No matter how the cat resisted, it was all in vain. Simon gathered his strength for the next attack, and he attacked. It seems that this time the tiger will not be able to recover. Simon was able to kill the first-rank beast. This means plus 14 points, which is twice as much as for killing a regular monster. The stronger the predatory beast, the higher the ability score multiplier. The examination hall, which others see as full of dangers. It was a rare place for him to gain experience. Such opportunities rarely came up, so Simon decided that he should make the most of the time. The boys were watched, and when they saw Simon's glasses, people began to praise and congratulate his teacher. They said what a good teacher he turned out to be, but the teacher tried to explain that everything was wrong. But then the man shouted that Simon had risen again, which attracted the attention of Director John. He said that according to the martial arts exam scoring system, killing a non-ranked beast would give 6 to 8 points. For a first-ranked beast of the lowest level, they give 14 to 16 points. And the smartwatch updates the kill count every 4 seconds. In other words, in 4 seconds, Simon killed 5 unranked beasts. What is not at all suspicious is that Simon's school principal told the head principal who Simon's teacher was. The principal called the teacher, and he greeted the head principal and explained that Simon had awakened an E-rank ability. Before the exam, he even specifically advised Simon not to participate in the martial arts exam. The principal said that to reach such a level with only an E-rank ability meant that the student had outstanding qualities in other areas. It seemed that no one was surprised by Simon's unexpected and suspicious growth. Finally, the principal said they would wait until the end of the exam to check if Simon had cheated. Tess was in 12th place. She found out that Simon was in 9th and said that, as she thought, that blow yesterday was his work. Min was in 1st place. There were still 6 hours left in the exam. He had never heard of Simon's name. Having reached the top 10, one of the drones latched onto Simon. Simon didn't notice it right away. The martial arts exam will test the candidate's strength and potential. The higher the result, the greater the recognition. Before entering the core of the zone, Simon decided to cheat again and increase his abilities. He already has over 300 ability points, but the level field still doesn't show the progress notification. It seems the only way to go from an awakened state to an ability user is to learn a cultivation method. In this case, Simon decided to continue to strengthen his basic characteristics. Meanwhile, in the central area, other tigers were feeding on the carcass of the rhinoceros that Simon had killed. 9 armored tigers. The one in the middle stands out for its aura and size. In addition to his stunning claws, this must be the king of tigers. Our hero had no instinct for self-preservation. and he decided to attack him. But then Min appeared. It seemed like they were both aiming at the Tiger King. The tigers were apparently very polite, and gave the boys time to talk. Min said he didn't expect Simon to break into the top 10. Simon asked if he knew him. Then Min replied that he knew everyone who was strong enough to enter the core except Simon. So, when he saw a new face, he immediately realized that this was a dark horse that had stormed to the top. He watched Simon and reminded him that the 9 tigers and their king were very strong. So he suggested teaming up, but Simon pompously declared that he could handle it himself. It's easy to say that when you know that you can raise your level at any time, without any additional effort or training. As expected from a group of ferocious beasts led by their king, they are even capable of using a simple formation. Min decided to watch the entire battle, wondering if Simon was heading to certain death. Simon began to swing his spear, and for a man, he wasn't the least bit worried that this was his first time fighting monsters in such numbers. He somehow managed to harm powerful monsters just by swinging his spear. Then the Tiger King decided to step forward, and Simon was dissatisfied with his physical strength. Although just a couple of days ago, it was difficult for him to swing a regular spear. The Tiger King used his roar and then everything collapsed, except Simon, of course. The newcomer Simon didn't care. He gained his strength and decided to attack again. The tiger swung its huge claws, but Simon continued to dodge. Then he hit the king with his stick, and it seemed that this was enough to defeat such a strong beast. Just one blow from the stick was enough to kill the monster, which was stronger than all the beasts that Simon had killed earlier. A very rich haul of ability points. At this rate, who knows how many points he will accumulate by the end of the entrance exam. The more the better. We need to look for the next group of animals as soon as possible. Simon decided to hurry. But then Min ran up and shouted how Simon had managed to defeat that group with just one long pike. His ability is a strengthening type, Simon replied. No, he has lightning, and ran away. Min didn't believe him and said that if he didn't want to tell him what type of ability he had, there was no need to be so dismissive. Then Min realized that Simon would soon catch up with his score, and he also decided to hurry. The director was amused by this. He praised Simon for his spear technique, and decided that he was a genius. He then decided that after the exams, he would propose to the city to reward the second school. The director of the second school was happy that his school would finally shine. 3 hours later, in the central zone, Min looked around but couldn't find the ferocious beasts. The guys said that Simon killed the animals in the central zone, and they got nothing. Min stated that this was impossible, because there were quite ferocious animals in the central zone. Tess replied, clearly indicating that he hadn't been in the rankings for a long time, and showed her status. Even if you subtract the more than 700 points scored in the central zone, he still has over 2,500. In other words, in the core of the zone alone, he killed almost 200 ferocious beasts. With only a few hours left until the end of the combat exam, they are planning to unite and try to reach the depths of the zone's core. Min said there are at least first-rank beasts there. There is even a second-rank king, Dina replied. That is why they are uniting. Night fell. Simon sat on a mountain of corpses and ate his candy bar. All supplies were exhausted. And the combat exam is already nearing its end. In order to gain more ability points, he needs to go deeper. But deep within the core, there are fierce second-rank beasts, and he needs to strengthen his power a little more. Having collected points, Simon decided to improve his abilities again. It would be fairer if all players were given the same opportunity. But of course, the main character here is Simon, so he gets all the best. So all the efforts and work that the guys went through in trying to strengthen their abilities are nothing compared to our main character. A huge, bloodthirsty wild bear. It seems he is the boss here. He was the size of an apartment. Min thought they were in big trouble, because it was a rare and ferocious creature. Even missiles couldn't penetrate its skin. Tess suggested abandoning the mission, as they didn't need that bloodthirsty bear. For anything to happen, as soon as they enter this complex, they will probably be destroyed by these first-class ferocious beasts. Life is more important than some points, Min supported her. Death for the sake of points sounds shameful. But our Simon doesn't have to worry, because he's the main character, so he doesn't have to be afraid of death. A crowd of monsters immediately pounced on him. Simon recently gifted himself with one great skill. The boys decided that he was dead. Tess couldn't just watch this. She wanted to help her cousin. Of course, the guys didn't like this idea at all. They stopped her and asked her not to take unnecessary risks. Tess was explaining that Simon was her cousin, and she couldn't just stand there and watch him die when suddenly there was a huge explosion. This was his ability that he had just added, high-level lightning. Relying solely on physical strength against such a crowd of first-class ferocious beasts is still not very safe. Now he can only use his superpower, and that's power. Class S is truly powerful and overwhelming. This could not fail to attract the attention of the bloodthirsty bear. Its large size could become its Achilles heel. The divine thunder of the 9 heavens can be dealt with. But when the battle begins, these small minions can interfere. Then Simon decided to destroy all the space around him, so that he could hit both the bear and the bipod. Simon flew like a butterfly, killing every beast that attacked him along the way. This is what it means to enhance an S-class superpower. But the lightning that runs through his body is very dangerous. So you won't be able to hold out like this for long, but it will be enough to deal with ferocious animals. It's good to be the main character. You don't have to worry about dying, even at the hands of the most dangerous beasts. The bloodthirsty bear patiently waited for its turn and attacked Simon. Simon nimbly ran back onto his huge paws and quickly jumped onto his back. By killing Small Fry, Simon charged his lightning more and more. It looks like the bloodthirsty bear was quite angry that his minions were dying. Simon ran towards the bear. One rhinoceros decided to cover his leader. The bear guessed that Simon would go ahead and clapped his hands, but Simon was no longer below. Now that the bear was no longer surrounded by Small Fry, Simon decided to test whether the bear's skin could withstand the impact of his thunder. Simon struck the bear with his spear, and then there was an incredible explosion that was visible to everyone. The director asked if they called this an E-class ability. Were they kidding me or something? The man said that by simply activating his power, Simon could instantly kill a first-rank beast, and even somehow fighting on equal terms with a second-rank boss. The school director asked if this could be an ability mutation. The leader replied, "No matter what, after today, perhaps everyone will be shocked by Simon." This blow from Simon left only a scratch on the bloodthirsty bear, and it also angered him quite a bit. As expected from a rare species among the second-rank ferocious beasts, its stiff bristles are invulnerable to swords and spears. And most importantly, it doesn't conduct electricity. With Simon's current strength, it's really hard to kill the bloodthirsty bear with one blow. After jumping the load over 2 large ranks, the bear somehow transformed and ran towards Simon. He activated the berserk skill so quickly, it seemed like this bloodthirsty bear really disliked Simon. The bear looked scarier than usual. It attacked Simon furiously, and he could only dodge. As expected, the physical strength of a beast that has entered a berserk state increases significantly. But at the same time, the bear completely loses its already meager mind, turning into a killing machine. Driven only by instinct, it is now better to avoid his powerful attacks. A direct confrontation is highly undesirable. The best way to use agility and keep him at a distance is to wait for the right moment. And to temporarily disable him, Simon slipped under the bear and hit his paw, and that was enough for the huge bear to fall. He gathered the divine lightning of the 9 heavens and struck the bear again. Half a minute of divine purple lightning, and even the strongest defense will not withstand it. The bear gathered his last strength and wanted to attack Simon again, but the main character didn't care. Simon used a new skill, Hurricane, gathering energy at the tip of his spear. And he hit the bear. It's comfortable when the whole universe is on your side and gives you unlimited energy and skills. The bear flew back and crashed into the building. Simon didn't even get a scratch. To deal with this monster, Simon simply dug Lightning Flurry from beginner to advanced level. It may have only lasted 2 minutes, but it was the most exciting battle of his life. That is, the main character needed only 2 minutes to deal with the second-rank boss. And all this without leaving a single scratch on himself, and he did all this without any experience. The exam was not over yet, but as expected, the protagonist won without any effort. Simon had killed all the fierce beasts in the inner circle and the core. Now he wanted to return to the central area, and kill as many as possible there. A mosquito leg is also considered meat, no matter how thin it is. The guys came down and Min asked why he was coming back. He was already in first place in points. Dina realized that Simon had decided to return to the central area to finish off the animals there. Min said that Simon could really handle it at this speed, and if they didn't leave soon, they wouldn't be able to score any points. The guys decided to run away, and each individually score more points before the end of the exam. An hour later, the martial arts college entrance exam is over, and killing ferocious beasts no longer earns points. Candidates are asked to return as soon as possible, and students can breathe a sigh of relief, although not everyone is happy with the end of the exam. After all, not everyone had enough points to pass the exam, of course. Simon had nothing to worry about. Layla asked Tess if her cousin really came first. Tess replied tiredly. This was the 3rd time in a row she had asked her this. Then Layla asked if Tess could give Simon's number. Simon's popularity was growing. Tess replied, Layla said yesterday that she was not interested in Simon. How could she? Layla said. Everything had changed. Today, he is first on the list. While Layla was pleading with Tess, a bunch of students ran forward when they saw Simon. Simon liked the popularity. People called him, and he waved and smiled at them. Min said who would have thought that such a monster would emerge from the 3rd middle. With his abilities, he is pleased with this result. The director introduced Simon to the headmaster. Of course, Simon wouldn't have to take the bus back. It's even better this way. On the bus now, Simon would be bombarded with questions and wouldn't be allowed to rest. In the chief's car, the man asked if Simon had already decided which superpower university he wanted to attend. Simon replied that he had been so focused on training lately that he hadn't really thought about which university to go to. The head laughed and said that with his results, any university in the country would be open to him. However, although there are hundreds of universities in the country, half of the strongest superpower users came from the top 3. He highly recommends these 3. Qing Superpower University, located in the city center. After graduation, you can immediately enter the civil service system. The current 9th-rank guardian of the nation graduated from this university, another version of the Modu Superpower University. It offers the richest resources. Chun University has a long history, with many ancient traditions and a strong faculty, Simon replied. The head of the department answered that what exactly are the methods for cultivating high-level superpowers? Training methods also have levels. With Simon's results, she will definitely be able to enroll under a special quota. Even 3 leading universities will offer favorable conditions. The next day, the points collected should be enough to enter the University of Superpowers. Will there be competitions for killing ferocious animals after entering university? If not, I'll have to include a trip to the wilderness in my plans. The door was open, so Tess and Simon's aunt walked into the apartment, which Simon didn't expect. Simon ran away embarrassed, and his aunt was shocked by the state of the room, because she had been here a couple of days ago. The year Simon's parents died, his aunt was with him day and night, caring for him and giving him the warmth of home. And in her role as guardian, the aunt said that she knew little about the exam, but was very worried about him. Now that she sees that everything is okay with him, she calmed down. The result is not important. It's not a big deal, even if he wasn't accepted. Simon asked. His sister didn't tell. Tess answered. She thinks it's better for him to tell himself. Then Simon said that this time he did very well. He scored more than 10,000 points. Auntie didn't expect this at all. Tess told her it was true. Simon stood up, and he hugged his aunt, who was so happy for her nephew. She said that his parents would be very proud. Meanwhile, in the office, people were re-watching Simon's battle and discussing his ability. The man said that if this result is real, they are obliged to accept this student. But judging by the talent and rank demonstrated, there was no way he could score such points, and a real argument started about it. The woman shouted at them to stop arguing. For now, we need to register Simon as a special S-class recruit, and she will personally check the authenticity of the results. During training, Simon learned about first place. Of course, a conference on this matter began, and journalists asked logical questions. Everyone doubted the authenticity of the results. The director replied that their school's official website had already uploaded a video of the entrance exam. By watching this video, they can verify the authenticity of the results themselves, which is exactly what the journalists did. The martial arts exam video is proof that Simon's students' results are real, being the first student to achieve the rank of top student. His achievements bring even more recognition. The woman watched this from the side. She still doubted Simon's abilities, because he could have simply taken the drugs. The most important thing is to confirm the level of Simon's superpower. It seems like the principal and teacher were trying to gain fame at Simon's expense. The martial arts exam was already over, but Simon continued to train. A little later, the director brought tea to the high-level people. Their aura frightened him, so he hurried to leave them alone. Ms. Charlie asked, as it seemed like they hadn't gotten together for a long time. Who were they targeting this time? Stella replied that there was no point in pretending. As long as Simon's results were real, Qing University would receive them. Wayne asked, just because she says so, does that make him one? He declares that the University of Superpowers will get Simon. As expected, the special recruitment of provincial top students is always accompanied by clashes with teachers from other academies. Simon opened the door pompously and greeted the teachers. The teachers stopped arguing and paid attention to him. Charlie thought his spirit was full and he was one with his weapon. It seemed like he hadn't relaxed at all since the exam. Moreover, under the pressure of 3 high-level people, he did not even hesitate. The director introduced Simon. Charlie said that they watched the video of his martial arts exam. His fighting ability is very strong. However, she has a question. His superpower is no longer similar to the originally recorded weak ability of Class E. To explain how it happened, Simon lied and said he was accidentally struck by lightning while he was training. After that, he noticed that his strength became stronger. The teacher simultaneously said that it looked like a mutation of superpowers. Charlie said Simon probably doesn't know what his superpower mutation is. Is it a coincidence? But she brought a device for detecting superpowers. He only needs to use his power. Simon was struck by lightning, of course. Even the top teachers were shocked by the main character. Superpower detection completed. This is the superpower Divine Thunder Purple Sky. To finish off our hero's special ability, the device broke down while trying to determine his rating. He rebooted the small detection device, so its level is at least S-class. Wayne immediately offered Simon to enroll in his university. 4 years of study, all training methods and combat techniques for free. Stella said that if he entered her university, the entrance bonus would be 6 million. Charlie said her university doesn't offer cash bonuses or equipment, but rather training in cultivation methods and combat techniques. They can give everything. In addition, they will provide S-class cultivation resource every year. The teachers were shocked, but Simon didn't know what it was. Then Charlie asked if Simon had heard of dragon-like ferocious creatures. Fierce creatures with innate strength and a dragon-like physique are called dragonkin. These types of ferocious creatures are born at level 4 or 5, far superior to other types of ferocious creatures. S-class resources include the heart and blood of an adult level 8 dragonkin. After consuming the blood, physical strength will become comparable to that of a dragon. Upon learning of this, Simon quickly made the decision to enroll in Charlie University. After all, the most important thing is to become strong, so Simon chose Modu University. Charlie took out a ticket and gave it to Simon. All new students will be registered on September 1st. He will also be provided with housing. Simon asked if he could familiarize himself with superpower training methods and combat techniques in their library beforehand. Charlie replied, of course their library will provide him with a separate study room. Charlie also gave her contacts. The next day, boarding began, and Simon said goodbye to his family. Auntie was very proud and couldn't believe how much Simon had grown up. Uncle supported her. Uncle said that it was time for Tess to choose a university too. He suggested going to the same university as Simon. Auntie wanted this too, because they could look after each other. There are still hours before arrival. He can repeat the methods of training superpowers. Among the rewards for the entrance exam is the most important. The Deep Sea Superpower Training Method, like superpowers, training methods also have different ratings. They are divided into 4 levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced. The higher the level, the faster the learning speed. He thinks that he has an average level of training. With his spiritual power indicator of 180 units, it will take him half a day to memorize the material. According to the content of the records, a special energy circulates between heaven and earth. And by following this method, he felt this special energy on the very first day. At the same time, a plus icon for leveling up appeared on the system panel. However, he has no plans to do this yet. Because according to the records in the book, when moving from an awakened person to a person with superpowers, the higher the level of the training method, the more benefits after the transition, and as soon as he enters, he will master new training methods. Charlie told him to get in the car, and she would give him a ride so he could sort out the registration first. The special attitude towards Simon is immediately evident. They started licking him from the very beginning. Here is a student ID and a card all in one. Simon can use it to get into the dorm. The university dormitories, he had seen them so many times before, had 4-person rooms, single rooms, and even 3-bedroom apartments. They were set aside specifically for doctoral candidates, but he had never seen a villa used as a dormitory before. Each student from the university lives in a house. The conditions depend on the results. Living with someone is not bad, better than living alone. He prefers the warmth and harmonious atmosphere of a 4-person dormitory. All registration procedures are complete. Now she will tell you about a couple of things that are worth paying attention to. There are 2 main points: the credit system and the personal mentoring system. The credit system, at their university, credits are everything. 1 credit is approximately equal to 10,000. There are a bunch of ways to get them. The first is a fixed fee for each year according to its rating. For example, when he entered, he had an S level, so he received 100 credits. This is EVA, the artificial intelligence that every dormitory is equipped with. Home processors alone have reached level 4 artificial intelligence. The second thing you should pay attention to at their university is the personal mentoring system. Each student can choose a mentor, which suits him, and ask him to become his personal mentor. Simon asked if he, as a freshman, could get a mentor. Charlie replied that all the mentors at the school had high-level superpowers, and almost every one of them had their own fighting techniques. And the training methods they don't share with outsiders. There are only 4 instructors at their university. Those who specialize in the element of lightning recommend Dean Yan to him. Information about the others is also on the list. 2 of the mentors are from the Academy of Elements. The other is also from the Academy of Weapons. But he mainly uses a longsword. The choice is his. Simon decided that Dean Yang is really the best mentor for him. As expected, the mentor's housing is much better than the student's dormitory. Suddenly, a strange guy appeared and asked Simon if he was here to find a mentor. In previous years, the students selected were either high or average level. He didn't expect that among those enrolled under special conditions, there would be an awakened one. He was a second-year student at the Weapons Academy. The guy's name is Tim. Simon also introduced himself. Tim just realized that Simon has a special relationship. After all mortals go through a competition to get the opportunity to choose a mentor. Of course, Simon got everything without any extra effort. Tim's explanation ended. Simon thanked him for the clarification and asked if Tim had also come here to find Dean Ian. Tim replied that he had already been here a couple of times, but was always refused. Which was strange, since Charlie said that a mentor could not refuse. The butler opened the door, greeted them and invited them into the building. Tim thought it was strange. The butler had never been so enthusiastic when he came. They walked in and saw an old man and a guy next to him, apparently a dean with 7th rank superpowers. Known as the Thunder Spear, of course. Ian turned his attention to Simon. Charlie told him about Simon. He decided to test Simon's abilities, so he invited him to the training room. Ian watched the video of his exam. He had already assessed his combat skills. Now he would like to see lightning with his own eyes. Simon concentrated and then fired. It was an S-rank ability, Purple Sky Divine Thunder. Although he also has the ability to lightning verse, it is impossible to overcome the global gap between A rank and S rank. If he improves his skills, his future achievements may not be lower than that of a dean. The dean stated that with Simon's potential, he could become his student, but he had already lived for a long time. He not only has many friends, but also many enemies. If he becomes his disciple, it is difficult to guarantee that he will not suffer in any way. That none of his enemies would attack Simon. Was he ready? Simon knelt down. Then he said, "He is ready." Most of all, Simon admires people with high-level abilities, which grew on the battlefield. The more enemies defeated, the more powerful the teacher's fighting abilities. The dean shouted, "Great! From today, Simon is his 32nd student. This is a top-level training method, an extreme ability method, and a body-hardening fighting technique. The thunder indestructible body he created." Simon was delighted with such attention. The scene resembles a drama. Rich SEO and poor special student, Jan said his technique was awarded S rank. Combat techniques and moves also have their own rating. The higher the rank, the more difficult it is to master and the more powerful the resulting technique. Most 7th level masters will take a step forward if they have managed to create an S-rank technique. But the dean created not only an S-rank combat technique, but also the most difficult tempering technique. The dean let Simon go to progress in this technique, and later he will help Simon build the foundation. As expected, having a personal mentor is a great privilege. Simon can progress faster. I have developed the Thunder Indestructible Body technique only up to level 10, and the other 3 levels are progressing slowly. If he cannot reach the pinnacle of the 9th martial level, the teacher will become his greatest hope. Because, as he suggests, if he can reach the final level in this technique, his physical state will also become indestructible. Simon came out and saw Tim. He asked what happened to him. Tim answered. He had to defeat the dean's senior disciple with only 1/10 of his strength. Tim offered to share his experience, as he was sure that Simon hadn't passed either. But Simon told him that he passed. Tim did not expect this, because the dean usually does not take first-year students. Tim realized that Simon had special conditions, a silver spoon in his mouth, and the attention to Simon increased. In the dorm, training floor of the second room, as promised, Simon went to train. As he expected, the energy felt from training a high-level technique was much higher than when he trained at an intermediate level, since he had already mastered this training method. There is no need to train step by step, he will just add points and develop. This is already cheating, but it seems our hero doesn't care. After using the points, the process immediately began. As he expected from the first-level ability training method, he feels that his body's strength and ability have increased. And not twice as much, but at least 4 or 5 times as much. If he met that bloodthirsty bear again, he probably wouldn't even have to use the spear. His thunder would probably be able to overcome it. It is no wonder that everyone is so eager to develop high-level abilities if he used the Pigeon Sea training method. To overcome his limit, his strength and spirit would only increase by 30 or 40 units. But now he has increased them by almost 100 units. He decided to accumulate more points so as not to suffer again. The next day he returned to the dean, who was surprised that Simon had mastered everything so quickly. He did not know that Simon had simply wasted the points. It didn't even take any effort, so the dean couldn't figure out how Simon did it. But Simon just lied when the dean asked him how he was able to master all the techniques in one day. Foundation creation is the process of using the blood of a fierce lightning beast as a guide. Both the use of one's own abilities to harden muscles and bones, and the final strength of the thunder indestructible body, depends on the level of the beast's blood. High-level lightning elemental ferocious beasts are extremely rare. He originally wanted to prepare Storm Bear blood essence, but I decided to turn to the headmistress, and she presented me with the blood essence of a level 8 beast, a Thunder Tyrannosaurus. Simon said the dean was willing to do this for him. It was so generous of him. And he promised to pay back in the near future. The dean suggested not to put everything off. They returned to the training room again, and the dean poured the essence on Simon. Thunder Tyrannosaurus blood is highly toxic to ability users. He then uses the fire of true thunder to create the foundation for a thunder indestructible body. How much he can master depends only on him. The dean struck Simon with thunder. The student asked, "It's been 5 days already, right?" This student, surprisingly, is very resilient. He's even starting to feel jealous. He only lasted 2 days and used the blood of a 7th-rank ferocious beast. Junior disciple Simon's performance truly deserves the blood of a level 8 beast essence. Especially with his S-rank lightning elemental ability, he really looks forward to seeing a body indestructible by thunder. The student heard screams and ran upstairs. Opening the door, he saw Simon. He gives off a sense of menace, like the largest beast, enough to make you explode. Noticing the student, Simon attacked him, seemingly in ferocious beast mode. The dean shouted at him in time, and then all the beast's energy disappeared in an instant. Simon asked what had just happened to him, why he had such a strong desire to destroy everything around him. The dean explained that the Thunder Tyrannosaurus's blood essence had likely had a strong effect on him. The Thunder Tyrannosaurus is known for its ferocity, and since it has a high absorption rate, Simon experienced a side effect. But don't worry, if Simon controls his emotions, everything will be fine. The side effects will disappear over time. The dean was full of compliments, repeating how special Simon was. The student congratulated Simon on successfully laying the foundation for the skill. Luke offered to send Simon some credits as an older student to a younger one. He sent him 200 credits. Simon did not expect such a generous gift. The dean said that it was not so much for the senior student to take care of the junior student. The foundation having been successfully laid, the dean asked Simon to come tomorrow to learn the technique of wielding a spear. Simon returned to the dorm and saw a strange guy sitting in the living room. The guy noticed Simon and asked if he must be his neighbor. The guy's name is Finn. Simon also introduced himself, and then Finn shouted, "Simon is the best student from the province." He started looking at Simon, and he asked if Finn knew him. Finn replied, "Of course. They call him Mr. I Know Everything." Finn asked, "Simon was awakened during the entrance exam. His abilities are not at all like E rank." Although Finn is talkative and seems friendly, Simon, who lived alone and hated it, was glad to have a new neighbor. In both his past life and this one, he grew up in an orphanage, was never adopted into a family, and never had a sense of belonging. He had many friends at school. The happiest time he misses is the time spent in college. He had fun with his neighbors every day. After that, he got his degree, and just by drinking, Simon moved into this world. Who knew that in this life he would be an orphan? But with this roommate, he would no longer be lonely. Martial Arts Hall of the University of Superpowers MOD, Finn came with Simon. There were a lot of people in the room, and everyone was using their abilities in one place. This is a general training room, with a capacity of up to 300 people at a time. The entire hall is cast from C-rank alloy mixed with memory metal, allowing you to train without fear of damaging your equipment. Of course, if necessary, you can choose a separate room for training. These are the impact test tables. There are 5 leaderboards according to the 5 ability levels. If you get into the top 3,000, you can receive a reward of 50 credits. To begin the test, you need to place your student ID on the pole, but the use of abilities and combat techniques is prohibited during the test. Finn decided to give it a try, putting his student ID card to the test, and the system loudly announced to the whole room that Finn would be taking the test. The entire room dropped what they were doing to look at the next student who wanted to test himself. Of course, Finn was nervous about all the attention. It was just a simple test, and they were making a big deal out of it. Finn tried to concentrate and hit the pole. The force of the blow was 476 units. It was a great hit. Finn was pleased that he hadn't lost face. He decided that getting into the top of the leaders wouldn't be difficult. But, unfortunately, his strike rating is below 100,000, although there are 4,000 students at the university. The pillar has been counting the scores of all students at the University of Superpowers since its founding. The boys laughed at Finn's reaction, but had no intention of making fun of him. Simon calmed Finn down, and Finn suggested that Simon also take the test. Of course, Simon wanted to try. It seemed like the poll was counting all the students' points for history. To make Simon's success even more noticeable, and Simon more special, Simon had already pumped up his physical strength by spending his points, so he wasn't worried. He gathered his strength and hit the pole, and sure enough, Simon got first place. After all, our main character couldn't help but break a record that hadn't changed for a long time. Finn immediately started praising his roommate, which made Simon a little uneasy. He didn't expect the result to be so good that it doesn't sound true. The system congratulated Simon and gave him 400 credits, and people began to slowly approach. While Simon was enjoying his money, Simon learned that it was possible to pass the test on other levels. To get more money, Simon decided to deal with them later. When he finally noticed the crowd of people asking him a lot of questions, Simon quickly ran away from them. The dean had already learned about this record from Luke, and the news was immediately spread on social media. Luke was a little disappointed that he wasn't only as strong as the newbie Simon. Meanwhile, the other guy was angry when he found out that Simon had come to Emod. He seemed to dislike Simon. His ego was bruised when Simon took first place, pushing him aside. Simon returned to the hall, having mastered the body of indestructible thunder. He was full of energy even after 5 days and 5 nights without rest and food. These innovations give him tough skin comparable to E-rank alloy, which for an ordinary person would be equivalent to invulnerability to blades. Finn said the news of Simon's record has been discussed all day on the campus forum. So many people wrote to challenge Simon, Simon responded. Everyone at the university has such a strong fighting spirit. Finn said he would help Simon defeat those smug guys. Simon went to the library. Rumor has it that the deputy director is in charge of this library. Possessing spatial superpowers, it seems the rumors were true. The woman greeted Simon and asked how they could help him. S-rank students can view all records of combat techniques in the library. S-rank status allows one to possess limitless potential, which will help one master the highest level of superpowers in the future. Simon said he wanted to see fighting techniques with super lightning power. The woman led Simon to the 3rd floor, where he could access using his student ID. Eva replied that after Simon chooses the combat techniques online, they will provide the original secret manuals. Simon asked to show all the lightning elemental combat techniques of rank B and above. Eva showed a bunch of windows. The leadership of the heavenly thunder of 10,000 prisons. One of the highest skills. SS rank techniques and even SSS rank techniques. There are so many interesting secret manuals at Modu University. It's a pity that development requires both super strength and level. He is currently only able to learn A-rank techniques. Luckily, the mentor immediately gave him a list of recommendations, which will save him a lot of time. Following the list, Simon chose 4 techniques. The Loud Spear is a ranged type. Loud Cannon is a strong attack type. Thunder Flash is a move type. And the Thunder Prison helps control a crowd of opponents. With a combination of these 4 combat techniques, coupled with an indestructible body. He won't have any weak points, of course. The woman brought recordings of combat techniques for him. Combat techniques of C rank and B rank are worth millions. A rank is priceless, 4 books at once. What a deep artistic concept and aura. No wonder the fighting techniques are top-notch. This can only be studied from the original manual. A copy cannot reproduce this. A couple of hours passed. Simon finally read everything, so he added points. With so many fighting moves, Simon felt incredibly cool, getting all of them thanks to the points. He came back and Finn said that the freshman meeting would be held tomorrow at 9 o'clock on the 1st floor. Simon asked what level of techniques Finn chose. He chose 4 A-rank techniques. Finn didn't expect that he could learn these techniques. He didn't know that Simon used the system to learn everything. He asked if Simon was mastering A-rank techniques, then that meant he was an A-rank himself. Simon replied, no, S-rank. Finn asked why he had an S-rank permit. And Simon said, it seems like Finn, I know everything. I learned something new today. Although he could have guessed that the resolution level could be higher, no matter what level it was. But I certainly didn't expect that he had an S rank. The rest of the top candidates in the provinces only had an A rank. Hall, Simon has good fighting skills, but he also needs to improve his weapons. He left his first F rank weapon at home. But even if he took it with him, it would not withstand the current strength. So he decided to find a weapon in the form of a spear with the help of Eva. The higher the rank, the more expensive and heavier the weapon. He decided to buy E-rank spears, a combat suit, and combat boots, the total cost of which was 237 credits. The credits are going through so quickly. Until he gets his new weapon, he'll have to hope it doesn't break. Let's hope it doesn't break. The next day, the meeting started. Simon came to the meeting, of course. People started to stare at Simon. Then the disgruntled guy shouted at Simon, "This is Lei." People said that Lei was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. They didn't know at all that Simon was the same, although Lee himself worked, and Simon simply uploaded the skills. He challenged Simon, but Simon refused. Then Lee said he heard his aunt had a business selling rare flowers. By coincidence, his family is the biggest buyer at his aunt's store, and she is a little in debt. The provocation worked. Simon got angry and asked if Lee was threatening him. For some reason, this was enough to scare Lei, just one furious aura and that's all. Lei set the date, time and place of their duel. This time Simon agreed. Of course, this has really got the crowd interested, and it looks like this fight will have a lot of spectators. The man addressed the students, and the meeting had finally begun. He talked about how everyone should try to climb the rankings to win awards. Like all the other meetings, this one was also unbearably boring. Simon could hardly contain himself. He will need to study with Luke and the mentor for the next few days. Luke taught him the techniques, the dean helped him with the skill, and of course, Simon also practiced on his own. 7 days later, the day of the duel, Luke asked how Simon reached the first level. Simon lied that he was just lucky. In fact, he just waited a couple of days to avoid attention, and then simply downloaded the power. Luke reminded Simon that he had a battle with another newbie at noon today. He decided to go with him to see how strong Simon was. As expected, people came to watch the fight, and there were quite a few people. Everyone was talking about Simon and Lee. Then the doors opened and Simon came forward in new clothes. It seems like most people came to see Simon, and after this fight Simon will have more fans. Simon's ratings rose, but Lee thought nothing bad would happen. He prepared something. Lee said that just determining the winner is a bit boring. How about betting? How about putting all his credits on the line? Simon wasn't opposed. To avoid any delays, it is best to transfer all credits at once to Master Jane's account, Healer. Battles between beings with superpowers are extremely dangerous, and it seems that none of the university's leaders want the students to get seriously hurt. Simon translated everything, then people started shouting, everyone supporting their favorite. Credits received. Both sides must prepare for combat if one side admits defeat or loses consciousness. The other side stops attacking, otherwise there will be punishment. The guys are ready. Lei prepared his sword, a massive fire. He declared that today he would return the honor taken away by Simon. This seemed to have affected Lei greatly, and he immediately attacked with a blast of furious flame. His attack was blocked by Simon with his spear, which was of low rank. And before Lee could react, Simon himself attacked him with an electric shock. Then Lee flew back and crashed. People shouted that it was all over. Simon only hit twice. It was too boring. The fight couldn't be called interesting. The spectators were unhappy. Luke was also bored. He hoped to see Simon's powers, but it didn't work out. The teacher was about to announce the winner, but Lei said in a hoarse voice that he had not given up yet. The sparring wasn't over yet. He took out a pill that would cause a blood explosion. Jane shouted at him not to do it. This pill is really dangerous, although it gives temporary strength, but the side effects are serious. Lei will be bedridden for the next couple of months. It's not worth it. People were also against this. They shouted that they were unhappy with this. Jane listened to them and responded. This is an unofficial sparring session. There are no strict restrictions. Weapons, armor, medicines. Everything is allowed. Lei took the pill and immediately felt a surge of strength. He didn't want to lose so much. This blood explosion pill is far from low grade. It raised Lei's level to second. Simon's fighting spirit also increased. Lei's pill didn't frighten him. Rather, it made him happy. He had long wanted to fight for real. He ran up to Lei in an instant and struck with his spear. Lei was able to block it. However, a little clumsily, he took a few steps back. It seemed the pill wouldn't help him. But the guy had no intention of giving up. He got up again and attacked. He decided to attack from a distance. Although it didn't help much, Simon simply shrugged off the blows and asked, "And that's all Leia has." Simon's lightning ability repelled all of Lei's attacks. The pill's effects will wear off soon. So Lei decided to hurry. As soon as he attacked, Simon attacked back. Simon Lei was unable to block the attack. His arm was not seriously injured, but there was still a surprise. Another skill Simon recently downloaded was Thunder Prison. Lee said Simon can't get close and he can't get out. Who will last longer? But Lei overestimated his abilities, Simon said. I wonder how many blows the flame barrier can withstand. Simon started throwing lightning bolts at Lei. Over and over again, the arrows flew towards Lei. Seeing these arrows, Leia became frightened. He decided that if they hit him, he would definitely die. Then Lee shouted that he surrendered, but Simon still stuck his spear into him. It's unlikely that he will be punished for this, because he is so unique. The spectators were hoping for a longer fight. The audience began to discuss Simon's techniques and skills, wondering what rank they were. They decided it was B rank, but Luke didn't think so. He knew Simon had chosen those A-rank skills. Luke was surprised that Simon had mastered them so quickly, and he was a little disappointed in himself. Although he didn't know that Simon was just downloading skills, and Lei, despite his wound, stood calmly. Jane said the loans and money were sent to Simon's student account. It turns out that Finn was also among the spectators. Finn suggested going into the city and relaxing. Simon said he had training later, but Luke said there had to be a balance between rest and training. It was time to rest. Then Simon decided to go to the city. Finn did not expect to see Luke. He hadn't seen him before, so he was impressed. Then asked if plans for today had been decided. Simon will help you rely on him. He will take care of all the entertainment. The one thing Simon absolutely cannot miss about student life is hanging out with other students. Finn stated that Simon's popularity had risen again, and he posted an invitation to a party on the campus forum. More than 100 people will come. His eye began to twitch as he tried to choose a few. Simon said that Finn was really too involved in all this. He was afraid to imagine who Finn chose out of 100 people. Finn replied that he would keep it a secret for now, but then people started approaching. Shayna and her neighbor Sonia arrived. Shayna has the power of the Beast rank A, and Sonia uses the superpower of Light rank A. Simon greeted them, and Sonia immediately asked if Simon would like to have a sparring match. But Shayna told her that it was just a meeting, and that it was better to leave talk of sparring for later. Sonia was a little upset, but still sat down at the table. Finn suggested they eat first. After they ate, the guys went to the shopping street. In short, Finn arranged a regular date. It is not surprising that this is one of the main trading centers of the country. Combat armor, weapons, elixirs. The choice here is much greater than anywhere else. Sonia spent several million in one night. Simon realized that she was rich. Finn said Simon has no idea. She's not just rich, she has an interesting story. Night fell and the girls came home. They thanked the guys for a good time. The boys said goodbye, but Sonia told Simon that she was serious about sparring. Sometime in the future she would challenge him. Simon replied she would wait. Shayna said she had never seen Sonia be nice to guys, but it seemed like she liked Simon. Sonia's ability allows her to sense the thoughts of others. Simon did not have any bad thoughts. That's why she didn't like him. Finn said that going out to relax like this was a good idea. Simon was also impressed by Sonia. He decided that he needed to work on himself. Sonia has the first level of the highest rank. 2 weeks later, Simon was training, or rather, scoring points. He could collect points and just spend them on skills. He would improve the skills. The second stage of the Thunder Indestructible body still concentrates on the bones and muscles. But if you believe the books, a breakthrough to the third stage opens a special state, the Thunder of an Extreme Regime. It temporarily increases power and speed to the limit. Simon couldn't wait. Simon returned to the dean and told him that he had increased his level the previous evening. The dean couldn't believe that Simon was talking about this so easily, because ordinary people need time for this. Luke wasn't surprised by this. He said that Simon was just a monster. The dean said that improving skills is important, but so is actual preparation. So they decided to have a sparring session with Luke. The guys prepared. Luke said he would lower his power to the lower level of rank 2 before attacking. Of course, Simon blocked Luke's attack, and Luke decided that Simon was an equal opponent. Simon used the Thunder Prison skill again. He threw it back so that Luke couldn't escape. Then he decided to attack with a direct attack, a spear of chain lightning. He was already connecting these skills. Luke said this was the combo Simon used to defeat Leia, but it wasn't enough. 15 minutes later, Simon was barely standing on his feet, completely out of breath. Simon said breathlessly. His strength was gone. He was giving up. But Luke was still full of strength and said calmly, Simon ran out of energy, the dean replied. Not bad. Simon's abilities are not bad. Luke asked if Simon knew what level his power had just reached. Second level, the dean said. Combat training has come to an end. It's time to take a break. Luke went to eat some fruit, and Simon wanted to ask the dean for permission. He plans to leave school and go to the wilderness area, the dean asked. Simon answered how long he plans to leave for, about a month. He will return before the freshman competition begins, the dean thought. The wilderness area is not an exam area. The monsters run around mindlessly, without being assigned to levels. And yet the dean allowed it. Every strong person must go through the difficulties of life. If his student strives for this, he will not stop. Then he asked which zone exactly Simon was going to. Simon replied, on the outskirts of the city. The dean replied that the highest rank for monsters is 4th or 5th, which is a relatively safe place. He will ask Luke to share some tips with him when Simon is there. Then he won't be able to help, so he prepared something for Simon. A really convenient weapon. Simon returned to the dorm and called Eva. He asked her to open the school's mission system. Based on the advice of an older student, it's best to take on a few missions to earn credits before leaving school. Obtaining monster materials, collecting rare flowers and plants, all tasks with large rewards inevitably involve combat. It's dangerous for students, so it's no wonder that the university's best students are not on campus, but on the battlefield. Simon chose a few tasks and set off. Supply base, outskirts of the city. The people in the market were shouting at the top of their lungs. Simon had finally arrived at the supply base. Simon came to the hotel and said he wanted to register as an adventurer. To enter the wilderness area, You must first register as an adventurer at the national level. Simon walked to his room when he suddenly saw a crowd screaming. It was incredibly strong. It was Chelsea from the University of Superpowers MOD, second year. Everyone called her a goddess. It looks like she's heading into the wilderness to get materials again. Simon looked at her and thought, her appearance is the same as Sonia's. The girl gave Simon an adventurer's map and a satellite smartwatch. The map shows detailed markings of monster activity and the danger level in each zone. The man noticed Simon and asked if it was his first time going into the wilderness area. Not wanting to buy the medicine before going there, Simon asked how much it would cost. The man replied, first-class medicinal pills, 20,000 each. First-class antitoxin tablets cost 15,000 each. Second-class are more expensive at 40 and 30 each. Simon said it wasn't that expensive, but he thought his prices were suspiciously low. Most of them are scammers. They usually choose newbies who don't understand all this yet. Simon asked. The man had fooled many newbies with this trick, right? Then the man asked. The boy had already seen it. Wants to make him leave, Simon replied, and the man thinks, the crook replied, not bad. He wanted to attack Simon, but then the girl shouted, deceiving the newbies again. Then the swindler immediately ran away, saying that the boy was lucky this time, but it would be better not to leave the base for the next few days, or he will regret it. People started saying that Simon was doomed. He shouldn't have messed with Lin. Will said that Lin never forgives insults, and that it was not advisable to leave the supply base anytime soon. Simon thanked him for the advice and asked why no one stopped him, since the man was a crook. Will replied that he had connections in the black market. Who would dare stop him? If he needed equipment, he could buy it through official channels. She was very friendly. Simon decided to first buy everything he would need for a month. Medicine, anti-cozen tablets, blood explosive tablets, and much more. Simon came out, and Lin said the kid really doesn't believe the warnings. He told him not to leave the base, but the boy dared to go out. He thinks he's just throwing words around. Simon asked what the swindler was planning to do. Lin replied that the boy had embarrassed him, so he will cut off his legs and spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. If he, Lin, can't teach the kid, how will he be here later, with metallic skin and a D-rank suit? It won't be possible to break through his defense until he pays $1 million in compensation and gets on his knees. He won't forgive him. The swindler talked too much. Simon could not tolerate his chatter. He immediately attacked him. Then he just left without looking back, and people started talking about it. Captain Will said that Simon was definitely from MOD University, strong and ruthless. Everyone there was like that, so Will asked, since the university produces crazy people, maybe they should take him on the team. But the captain was against it. Simon went to the gate and put his card in. And immediately outside the gates, the atmosphere changed. Even the sky became darker. This howl serves to mark the territory of a wild animal of at least the 4th rank. But his target today is not them. The wild lands are divided into 2 areas, a ruined city and a mountain forest. The wild animals in the ruined city are a little weaker, so you can get points for catching them first. The city is good. There are mostly 2nd-rank beasts here, a few 1st-rank beasts, but no 3rd or 4th. The huge area there is clearly inhabited by at least 5 or 6 animals. Simon immediately met the animal. The cat was 2nd rank, ability points right on a silver platter, as always. Lately, Simon's body has been affected by negative energy, so he has a thirst for carnage. Now he does not need to hold back. A month later, the man asked the captain what was going on with this city. They had been wandering around all day but had never come across a monster. The captain shouted. They asked him how he should know. The other answered, there must be at least 500 to 600 monsters in the city. Just as the team of bald men were complaining that there were no monsters anywhere, a huge tiger suddenly appeared. The team was very happy about this. The captain told the guys to get ready and kill him all together. But suddenly lightning fell right on the tiger and apparently the tiger cub did not survive it. The bald men shouted that what just happened was maybe lasers. The captain replied, it looks like the element of lightning. It's time to leave. It looks like this part of the city has been taken over by someone stronger, and this attack was a warning. The bald ones ran forward, obeying the captain, although they continued to shout, so the captain ordered them to shut up. Of course, Simon killed the tiger cub and the victim of that team. How honest was it to take the prey of others? But perhaps the value of honor does not extend to the main character. In a month he received more than 8,000 points. Simon decided that he would finish his business here and head to the supply base, and then continue his research. Luckily, Simon had bought a heavy-duty tactical backpack. Otherwise, there would have been no room for those 400 kilograms of animal material. Entering the buildings, Simon stood in line to sell his accumulated materials. Simon decided to sell the materials of the 2nd-rank wild beasts. He was interested in how much he would get for all this. The girl asked Simon to wait a little, because he brought too much, so she needed to call people. Then a man and two girls in evening dress appeared in the middle of work. This was Gerard, the manager. He is responsible for purchasing. He expressed his respect and suggested that they take a rest while the inspection was underway. The manager gave him a platinum card for a supply base member, which gave him a 5% discount on any purchase. The girl reported that the materials had been counted. Among the second-rank animals, there were 89 of the lower level, 107 of the middle level. There are 24,700,000 animal materials in total. The manager suggested rounding up to 25. Such a large sum was immediately transferred to Simon's account without any problems. Simon said goodbye to the manager, who gave him his business card so that Simon could contact him. The manager planned to get closer to Simon, because he understood that he could bring him a lot of money in the future. Our old friend called the manager, who coldly asked him why he was calling. The scoundrel claimed that he saw the guy who beat him return to the base and demand that the manager take revenge for him. The manager asked who the first-ranking guy was that they were talking about and how interested he would be in getting revenge. The man yelled, "Let the tiger shark deal with this. He needed the kid to suffer, not just die." The manager promised to provide the scoundrel with a squad, but from that moment on, they would no longer have any contact. The man shouted that after this he would leave the city forever, and the manager wondered why he had a vague feeling of unease. The Tiger Shark Squad are elite second-rank fighters. Is it really necessary to bother them with such a trifle? A little later, the manager called another manager and said that he had discovered a very promising fighter. He alone brought in more loot than a dozen teams combined, and the head manager decided to check the records. Suddenly the general manager Wang shouted, "This guy the manager was talking about is very important to him. Let him inform him if Simon comes again." Van didn't expect that Jan's protege would come here. Meanwhile, Simon was thinking about the spatial ring. They are sold nearby. They cost more than 10 million. And their capacity is only the size of a suitcase. It's expensive, but they are really convenient. I want to buy one for myself. I wonder how much a ring that can hold an entire spear would cost when Simon's phone suddenly rang. It was Simon's friend. He asked when Simon would be returning. Simon replied, "In 2 weeks." And he asked, "What?" Something happened. While he was speaking, the guys from the detachment were waiting for him around the corner. He told the scoundrel to break Simon's arms and legs, and then deliver him to him. Tim said that while Simon was away, a new guy arrived and he was quite arrogant. Well, Simon, more than anyone, should know what arrogance is. Simon felt like he was being stared at and told Tim to keep talking anyway. As soon as Simon entered the alley, the guy told his men to get ready and analyze the target's strength. The guy said that sometimes the captain exaggerates everything too much. A first-rank guy. What kind of problems can he even cause? The girl screamed, "It can't be." Then the captain asked what was wrong, that something wasn't working. She shared it with everyone so that they could see it for themselves. Psychic abilities of perception. The more power, the brighter the aura. Seeing Simon's aura, the captain asked how this was possible. His aura was stronger than his, and he was at the highest level of the second rank. They decided that they were simply being fooled, and that they would all be killed at once. The intelligence data was wrong, and the mission was cancelled. The guys turned out to be smart, and when they realized that they couldn't win, they quickly ran away. The only person on this base who has a grudge against him is that scoundrel, and Simon knew it, so he decided to teach him a lesson. But the squad captain himself had already gotten ahead of him. He hit the disabled man, and he shouted why they were hitting him. The captain stated that they were given a false lead, and they almost died. The target was not a top-level first rank, but a top-level second rank. The mission was over, and they would deal with manager Gerard personally, and with that they left. The manager was waiting for them and asked if they had returned so late and dealt with the guy. The captain replied, "No, the mission was cancelled." The tip-off turned out to be false. The target was a high-level second rank, worse, judging by observations. "His attack power is currently at the lower level of rank 3, the manager shouted. How could this happen? Then it dawned on him, and he asked what their target's name was. The captain replied that they hadn't been given a name, but their appearance was obvious. The captain started listing Simon's appearance, and then the manager became quite nervous. A little later, the head manager was shouting, "How dare Gerard send people to kill Simon? Who do they think they are?" The manager replied, "He's just a second-rank fighter. There's no need to be so angry, right?" General Manager Wang said that Gerard cannot acknowledge his greatness, so let him look at the records. The manager began reading all the news and awards that Simon had received during this time. Now he realized that things were bad, Wang shouted. A master-level figure. The government would not say anything against it if their base was destroyed after this. The manager apologized and promised not to allow this to happen, and then called the security guards. They brought the culprit, and he asked for forgiveness, begged to be spared, and promised to leave forever. But the manager said that the beating wasn't enough. so it would be better to carry out the execution on the spot. Well, money rules in this world too. The manager apologized again, but Wang said he had turned a blind eye to his shady dealings all these years. But this time, Gerard made a huge mistake. Everyone involved must be severely punished. Not only Gerard, but the entire tiger shark. It seems Van has decided to suck up to Simon deeply, as if he were the only strong man in the world. Van and his men came out to meet Simon. The people in the hall froze. They were wondering who Van was meeting. Simon finally arrived and saw such a crowd and stopped. Several people in the crowd recognized him. Van stepped forward and greeted Simon, then introduced himself. The girls he knew recognized Simon and decided that he was not an ordinary university student. Van bowed and said that for their insults to Simon, the scoundrels received just punishment. The accomplices were also arrested and will spend the rest of their days in prison. As an apology, they prepared something. This is a black and gold card for a member of their base. From now on, Simon's stay here is free. He will also receive a 20% discount on any purchase, as well as a 1 cubic meter spatial ring. The official price of a spatial ring with a capacity of 1 cubic meter is at least 50 million. Some gifts were too valuable just like that, of course. Simon accepted the gifts. The best room obtained with the black gold card was luxurious. Simon recalled the conversation with Van, who promised to help him if something happens. Simon can contact him. To use the spatial ring, he needs a spiritual imprint. Simon's spiritual power is equal to 900 units. He now seems to be able to pull things out with his mind and fold them while the ring is in contact with his body. Apart from the fact that no living creature can be placed in this space, the ring is indeed a useful thing. The dictation called, and Simon said that he had just left the wilderness area. Ian already knew about the attack, and I wanted to sort it out, but Simon explained that Manager Wang had sorted it out. Simon also said that he had reached the highest level of the second rank. Yan laughed and said, "It is not surprising that Simon is his student, whose progress in skill development is even faster than his own." Simon said he would return before the start of school and planned to venture into the high-risk zone. Ian replied, "It sounds great, but don't forget to be careful." Simon told him not to worry. The man said that he hadn't seen Mr. So Happy for a long time. Jan replied that Simon's development rate was high. Wildlife area, forested mountain range. Simon heard the roar of ferocious beasts everywhere. Compared to the city ruins, the resources of the ferocious beasts of this area seem much more valuable. Suddenly, a terrible storm wolf appeared. It is a 3rd rank with special abilities. The wolf has a wind element. Judging by his strength, he should be at the middle level of the 3rd rank. Simon was wondering how many points he would get if he killed him, when he suddenly heard voices. Someone shouted, "It's the terrible storm wolf." It was that film crew. Almost all of them are 3rd rank, and they are trying to steal the wolf from Simon. It seems Simon will know what it is like to have your prey stolen. A girl in ordinary hiking clothes said that she did not like stealing other people's loot, but the captain wanted to raise his ratings, so he didn't listen to her, believing that the wolf would help them with this. However, Miss reminded that she did not need fake footage. The guys had to give up the wolf to Simon. She is an influential girl, but honest, which is something our hero lacks, because he stole the spoils of others. Although she is considered the leader of the team, the other members did not care. The wolf, who had been listening so obediently while the people were negotiating, finally attacked. Simon hit him with an electric storm burst, which seemed to be enough for the strong wolf. He died immediately. Simon received only 30-odd points. Simon decided to work hard in the next 10 days. 7 days later, Simon attacked a group of monkeys using the same technique. And although none of them died from the blow, Simon dealt with the family personally. Mercilessly killed monsters. More than 3,000 ability points. This is enough to buy new skills. Suddenly, Simon received a distress signal. A huge monster was destroying everything in its path. The team was divided. This monster is not simple. It is a burrowing dragon. The girl has so far managed to escape from the dragon. But how long will this last? It was she who gave this distress signal. Nellie tried to find somewhere to run, but there was no way out. Moreover, the dragon was getting closer and closer, and then lightning struck next to the dragon. It was Simon. He stood in front of Nellie and the dragon. Nellie immediately told him that it was not worth fighting the dragon. A lower-level 3rd-rank dragon. It's not worth messing with at all. But Simon stuck his spear into the ground. Nellie wondered why he wasn't listening to her. If she died, that was one thing. But she didn't want to drag others into it. So she bravely stood between Simon and the dragon, shouting at him to run away while she distracted him. Before the dragon could do anything, energy gathered behind Nellie, and Simon prepared an attack. And then he quickly pointed it at the dragon. The poor thing lost half of its body due to the attack. Nellie thought this power was frightening. The roar she heard was not his imagination. Simon got 36 points for killing the dragon. He got more points for the dragon. Then Simon asked if she was okay. Nellie replied that she was just a little tired. She thanked him for saving her. She introduced herself and said that she didn't know how to thank him for saving her, but if he needed help, he could call her. But Simon remembered that Tim was her fan and asked for a photo with an autograph. She didn't have a photo with her. She noticed the spear and asked if he was also from Modu University. Simon replied that it was a gift from the teacher, and why not? Nellie said she was a sophomore at Ice Academy, a junior college. She assumed he was a senior because ordinary mortals couldn't reach Simon's level, even though Simon himself cheated. Nellie said that she was very impressed by Simon's attack. She did not expect such a victory. She then explained that she had become separated from her group when the dragon attacked and asked if she could go with him. Simon said he was going to the ruins of the city. She could go with him. Nellie asked if Simon wanted to go to the dragon's cave. There must be a lot of good stuff there, otherwise he wouldn't be chasing her. Simon agreed. Nellie asked which academy he was from. Simon answered, Weapons. Nellie said that she knew Ian, a stern guy. Simon said that it was his teacher. Nellie apologized for some reason, Simon thought. Shouldn't she be cold? Since he has mastered the element of ice, they reached the dragon's cave before they entered. Simon asked Nellie to go behind, because it could be dangerous inside. They reached the lake. Qing grass, A-rank flame flowers. These are very rare flowers. Simon asked how they could grow here. Nellie replied, a source condensed with the essence of the earth, a healing remedy for warriors. The source of the earth spirit nourishes the nearby plants and turns them into rare flowers, filled with the scent of spring. Without a doubt, this is the source of the earth spirit. Simon was surprised that Nellie knew so much about rare materials. She is a level 2 pharmacist certified and can prepare at least 5 doses of medication from this source. Simon said he would give her 4 and keep 1 for himself, and divide the rare herbs equally. Then the rest of the team appeared and entered the cave, hoping to find treasure. Nellie said that they scared her. She decided that strangers had come, the captain said. They looked for her everywhere but clearly did not expect to meet them here. They are probably lying. They recognized Simon. Nellie said that he was a senior student from her university. They met by chance. She offered to share the herbs among everyone. The captain was pleased, but the man next to him said something was wrong. This water looked like the source of the earth spirit, a healing remedy of SS rank. When they realized that these were rare and valuable materials, the atmosphere changed dramatically, and they declared that Nellie was dishonest. Nellie wanted to retreat, because they were all level 3, but Simon said that he could defeat them. Of course he could. How can the main character lose to 3 of the strongest warriors, when he is the main character? Even if the materials were given to the men, they would not let Nellie and Simon go, because these 2 could tell about their theft. There was no choice but to fight, so Nellie decided to take a pill to increase her stats. Using her abilities, she turned the ground beneath her enemy's feet into ice. The captain decided to fight Nellie, and the other 2 with Simon. The captain said, unfortunately, today Miss Nellie will have to say goodbye to her life. He transformed into a tiger, and the guys told him not to kill her too quickly. They want to make an epic show. Nellie had no intention of putting up with them, but she felt sorry that she had dragged Simon into all this. Of course, Simon wasn't worried about this at all, because nothing could stand in his way. Despite fighting for several days in a row, his strength and energy did not diminish at all. The tiger cub got angry because of the loss of people and ignored Nellie. He attacked Simon with his axe. He is a 3rd-rank captain and logically stronger than Simon. But how can this stop our main character? Nothing can stop him. He develops new skills time after time, which miraculously save him. It's good when you can just buy skills instead of training and learning. Without wasting a minute, Simon attacked the tiger with a storm lightning strike. The tiger created a 3rd-rank barrier. Of course, this skill didn't work against Simon. The tiger flew away, and Simon declared that now his body is 3 or 4 times stronger than before, and no opponent's skills will help. And his ability control had also reached its peak, so the attack from behind didn't impress him. The man had mastered it at an advanced level, but nothing in the world could harm Simon. Simon was not without cruelty either. He could easily kill a person without a twinge of conscience. The man begged not to kill him, and promised that he would give up all the materials, although a minute ago he himself was ready to kill Simon for the materials. Of course, Simon didn't listen to this man's nonsense. The thirst for blood was boiling inside him. He had no intention of stopping her. Simon wanted to kill, and now it was time for the remaining team members. The men called Simon a demon, and he really does look like one. But Simon thought he was more human than them. The guy doesn't know how to work on himself. Each of the men took a pill, but the pills didn't help them. Simon was already standing on the corpses of these guys within a few minutes. Demon mode ended and Simon returned to his normal form. He used the skill for a total of 10 minutes. Nellie asked if he was okay. Simon replied that he was just tired and offered to collect materials. The source of the earth was not stained with blood. They collected it. The killing of people did not bother them at all. Simon said she could have 1.5 bottles. She fought too. She thanked him, and why she fell on Simon, of course. Not just like that. She was tired. That's why she naturally fell on Simon's knees. The side effects of the pill kicked in, and Simon lifted Nelly up to rest. Perhaps the moment should show some kind of emotional closeness between the characters, or simply closeness. Simon told her to rest while he went to collect plants, and gave her his t-shirt, which had torn a few minutes ago. And Simon took the materials of the dead, money, rare plants, and the like. He hoped to find a spatial ring that could accommodate the spear, since it was inconvenient to carry it around all the time. Nelly said that the earth spirit source could ease the weakness caused by the pill. Then Simon got some water and helped Nelly drink it. The effect was immediate. Nelly has no intention of wearing a t-shirt, but Simon is convinced that the water really is amazing. Nelly needed 3 to 4 hours to fully recover, so Simon suggested they wait out the night here. Nelly immediately thought about the obvious. A guy and a girl spend the night in a cave, although there are also corpses there. But who cares? In the morning, they came out of the cave, fully recovered. If anyone is interested, nothing happened. Simon offered to help her out of the forest. Nelly agreed and they ran forward. But they couldn't run far. A huge fiery tiger appeared in front of them. However, he did not pay attention to the guys, but rushed on. Nelly said that he was escaping from something. And she was right. A huge pack of creepy rats was running behind. They pose more of a threat than that tiger. Rats can even eat glands. Individually they are weak, but in a pack they are invincible. The best solution would be to run away. But they have great endurance. They are fast and can run for a long time. Simon wanted to throw away the spear because it was heavy, but Nelly said that he could put it in the ring. The spear actually fit, and to run faster, Simon said that he would carry Nelly on his back. Simon began jumping along the branches and they managed to break away from the swarm of rats, although not for long. After all, the city ruins were also pelted with these terrible rats. It was worth coming up with a new plan. They would have to fight. Simon took on his demon form again and asked Nelly to hold on tight. Then he ran, and at the same time killed the rats that were in their way. The people at the base prepared equipment to get rid of the rat infestation, with Manager Wang leading them. The rats had already filled most of the forest, so it was necessary to defend the base. Van was worried that Simon was inside the forest because Yan might get rid of him if Simon died. Suddenly people noticed lightning approaching their direction. Wang ordered to prepare a fire. The lightning came closer, and the army began to fire back, but only a few moments later, Simon and Nelly appeared. The army didn't know whether they were enemies or not, so they pointed their machine guns at them. But some of the soldiers recognized Nelly, and the manager recognized Simon, so they are safe. Nelly said they were very close to death, but luckily everything turned out okay. Manager Wang ran to Simon and asked if Simon was injured, if he had seen any rats. Simon replied that he was a little tired and wanted to rest. Then the manager said that he would immediately prepare a room for him and Miss. But Nelly said that she would do everything herself. The soldiers couldn't take their eyes off Nelly and were jealous that Simon was next to her. In the room, Simon woke up, and Nelly told him that he had been sleeping for 2 days. She already wanted to use the water of the earth spirit. Simon asked how the situation was in the wildlife area. Nelly replied that the area was still closed. The rats had not retreated. Anyway, it's time for Simon to go back to school, and Nelly, by the way, is too. Nelly remembered that she had promised to give him a photograph with an autograph, so she gave him one, although it was too much. And Simon asked to give him another photo. Nelly only now became embarrassed. She asked for the first one to be returned and handed over the other one. Simon took both for his information. Simon said that he had a lot of things to do over the past 2 days that needed to be dealt with. He wanted to book a train ticket, but Nelly said he didn't need it. She had a car. As expected, Nelly has an expensive car that is on autopilot and costs millions. They reached the campus and walked towards the university, people paying attention to Nelly and Simon the whole time. Simon was glad to be back. His strength had noticeably increased in a month and a half. Nelly asked which dorm he was in. Simon replied, the 3rd. Nelly said she was in the 2nd and suggested meeting again sometime. Simon replied that he would write to her. Before saying goodbye, Nelly leaned over and kissed Simon on the cheek, and she said that this was a small thank you for Simon saving her. Then she left. At home, she began to scour Simon's internet, because a strong student cannot be unknown, and she quickly realized that they were the same age, and all this time she had been addressing him as an elder. Simon began to examine all his prizes in his room. All the collected materials were worth a lot of money. Tim burst into the room and shouted. Simon came back and didn't even say hello, and he heard what happened in the wild zone. Simon explained that the army was currently dealing with the rats, and Tim finally noticed the materials that Simon had brought. Tim asked if Simon was a second rank. Simon answered, to be precise, the highest level of the second rank. Then Tim said that maybe if he was in life-threatening situations, he could also level up faster. He didn't know that Simon was being helped by the system. Tim said that Charlie came and looked for him. Simon said he would write to her as soon as he finished his business, and gave Tim a gift from Nellie. A little later, Simon returned to the library and asked Eva to show him high-ranking combat techniques. It's time to stock up on skills, then make it look like he has natural talent. After purchasing skills, people will again praise Simon for what he did not achieve. Simon himself, of course, wasn't embarrassed by this. He felt cool, because it was easier to just buy a skill than to train for it. He chose one of the lightning elemental techniques, and it turned out to be much deeper than the others. So he decided to read a couple of books so that it wouldn't seem suspicious. A couple of hours later, Simon was drooling over library books when he finally woke up and decided to open the system. It's time to spend points on skills. This technique will require a total of 1,500 points. All the hard-earned ability shackles are barely enough to upgrade 2 techniques. But there is no point in complaining, because in order to get new techniques, he only needs to spend points. At night, Charlie trained to improve her skills, just like mere mortals do without using the system. A black hawk was flying in the sky. This animal has incredible speed and camouflaging feathers. That's why he boldly hunts right in the city. Judging by the speed, 3rd rank, Charlie heard a bolt from the blue. The poor hawk was killed. Charlie was screaming. One of the students with the element of lightning did it. Of course, it was Simon, who, given the freedom to kill, had already mastered the new technique, thanks to the system. He was pleased with the result of this technique. The most important thing for him was that the attack range was almost a kilometer. All this time, a guy we didn't know was watching Simon, of course. He knew who Simon was. In the morning, Simon got ready to go to the library. The freshman competition was coming soon. Although, why should he worry? No matter what happens, the main character will win, as always, without difficulty. Simon came out and met Charlie, who said she was glad to see he was back safe and sound. She also recalled that Simon had promised to fight her in battle. But Simon himself was not enthusiastic. He suggested postponing the fight until tomorrow, but Charlie said they could spar now. She had a determined character, so Simon gave in and followed her lead. They came to the arena. Charlie rose to the 2nd rank on her own, through hard work, unlike Simon. She also had a spatial ring, and from it Charlie took out a spear. This is an unusual weapon. The guys were also interested, so they decided to stay and watch the show. It's no wonder Charlie is confident of her victory, because for mortals, this is a huge breakthrough. Simon showed his abilities. Tim said that Charlie could not defeat Simon. Charlie also realized that she would not be able to defeat him, but she did not intend to retreat. Simon asked if he still wanted to continue. Charlie replied yes, but not to take too much force. She is indeed a worthy champion, flexible and resilient. Simon suggested that she attack. Charlie didn't mind either. Her light ability was A rank, just like Simon's lightning. They have similar abilities, only Charlie got hers honestly. Charlie is actually strong. She attacked with a gravity array combat technique. Simon blocked the attack. Using the light element ability to summon flames is a good combat skill. But there was not enough power. Charlie attacked countless times, of course. Nothing in the world can harm Simon. Simon said her weapon was too slow and she needed more practice. That's quite a bold statement for a man who has never actually practiced. Charlie said she was tired. This level of spearmanship was above advanced. Simon replied that he wielded a spear at a master level, and Charlie had a logical question about how he managed to do that. If she has been training since childhood and is still not at this level, but it seems that in this world, everyone lets go of logic and does not suspect Simon of anything. It was too ridiculous. Charlie decided to give up, because she couldn't defeat him. Simon suggested practicing other skills. Charlie replied that his level and spirit were higher than hers, and his abilities were of SS rank, so she wouldn't be able to break the defense. She thanked him for the sparring and offered to feed him lunch. Simon agreed. Tim congratulated Simon on her victory. Simon said that her strength was not that great, but her level had increased quickly. But Tim said she is an 8th rank master with SS rank light elemental abilities. She is Dao's great-granddaughter. Many admire Charlie and she deserves it. Her high level of skills and talent have always been with her. Simon read about Tao. He was a powerful figure in the 80s. He said it was time for him to go and left. Forming a thunder prison area consumes 1/5 of abilities and lasts for half an hour. The skill not only reduces the impact of an enemy's attack by up to 90%, but can also automatically counterattack. There are more than 700 points left. You will need to go to the nearest wilderness areas to replenish the balance. On September 1st, it was the day of the freshman competition. Simon met up with his friends. Each of the guys talked about what they wanted to achieve in this competition. Tim said that among the participants there are some really wild guys who should be feared. The boys reached the freshman arena, Field 3. The spectators had already gathered to watch the show. Nellie also came to see the show, or rather, she came to see Simon. At that moment, the guys came out into the arena. The arena was very big, and there were so many spectators that they couldn't be counted. The teacher said that there would be 100 people participating in the hand-to-hand combat competition. That's why the arena was so big. Simon couldn't wait for the competition to start. He was hoping for some interesting battles. Tim asked why there were so many people from popular clubs there, even the presidents of the 2 leading clubs. They probably came to look at students who could be recruited later. Their clubs are very different from the clubs of ordinary universities. You could say they are fighting teams. They usually gather together and visit wild areas, hunt ferocious beasts, and distribute resources for cultivation every month. Lei is the vice president of the Ashes Club. Tim noticed he wasn't there, which was odd. And then Simon remembered that since the moment he returned, neither he nor the teacher had been able to contact him. The man told the president that he had heard that the situation in the southwest was very tense. It was the club president, Ash Wolf, who, as expected, came here to recruit new members. At the same time, Wolf noticed that Julius from the Shooting Star Club had also arrived. It seemed like these two weren't on the best of terms. They exchanged glances, but there was no joy in their eyes. People started whispering. The deans of each school are preparing for the entrance. The competition will begin soon. A magic circle appeared in the sky, and a second later a woman emerged from this circle. This is the deputy director, the library curator. Although she looks young, she is about 40 years old. Liana introduced herself. She is one of 3 deputy deans. Since the director is not here at the moment, she will open the ceremony. This year they welcomed 1,000 freshmen and 6 provincial champions. She began listing the achievements of Madu University students, seemingly boasting about the number of their talents. To help them become stronger, the school distributes resources each year based on their ranking. In just 5 days, this freshman competition will determine their ranking for this year. The ranking system, the credit system, the strength system, the mission system, the competition at the Modu Superpower University is very high. They raise strong warriors of high rank, serious competition, fighting, captures. All this is part of becoming a warrior. The students listened to Liana's every word, and Simon was once again convinced that he had made the right choice of university. In general, at their university, it is better not to hide your strengths. The stronger they are, the more resources they will receive. Now Liana will tell them about the freshman competition. The competition is divided into 2 parts. The first stage is hand-to-hand combat. Eva will count how many enemies each player has defeated, with the top 5 from each round advancing, for a total of 10 rounds. There will also be awards, and the competition also determines their ranking. The rights of the SS rank are assessed separately by the school. That's all Liana wanted to tell. She left the rest to the dean. More precisely, to the dean, she announced that the competition had begun. Students who show themselves well. They may be taken under the personal wing of one of the teachers, so she advises them to try their best. At the first stage, 10 rounds are held. Recruitment for the first round is underway, and students selected by Eva have entered the field. The girls' uniforms were, of course, unreasonably revealing. Unlike the men's, sexism exists in this world too. Tim noticed that the strange guy Gerard was also in the first round, just like a group of our guys. As expected, he was a little out of his mind and was deliberately provoking the other participants. Tim was amused by this. He was interested in how Simon would finish off this guy. The dean said that they need not worry about their safety if their lives are in danger. Eva will automatically create a protective barrier. As long as their heads aren't blown off, they can definitely be saved. As soon as the battle was announced, the students instantly began fighting each other. People were impressed by the students' skills and talents. Each of them was good at fighting skills. But the guy with his tongue always hanging out was tougher than the others. He savagely chopped up the guys one by one. The first round ended quickly, with Gerard taking first place, having defeated 36 people. As he descended, Gerard said that he was very interested in seeing Simon's abilities since he was an SS rank. Then he started teasing Simon. Tim said he had seen many who wanted to die, but that life was not so dear. The guy asked. Gerard made it to the second stage. Now Gerard is their main target. Julius answered. No, the main target is still Simon. Then the guy asked if the president had any inside information. Yuli answered. Not really. He just personally saw him that day. Eva announced that the first-year students would now be selected for the second round, and she asked the students to come forward. Simon was in the second round. The guys wished him luck. Tim asked Simon not to hold back. When Simon entered the arena, the guys started complaining about why they got a place next to this monster. No one wanted to fight him. It seemed like Simon wouldn't have any fun in this competition. The dean asked if this was the same student that Jan had recently taken in. By the way, Jan hadn't come today either. They just found out that Simon is already level 2, although he had the status of an awakened person when he was enrolled. The dean said that old man Jan didn't say a word about him. He knows how to keep secrets. As expected, Simon finds it much more interesting to fight people than ferocious animals. Simon's violent streak aside, the guys in the arena are in for a rough ride. They sensed Simon's aura and realized that he was at the highest level of the second rank. And everyone started thinking about how they could beat him. The game really wasn't fair. They were all freshmen here, so they were newbies. The guy asked if the president already knew about this. Julius replied, "You could say so." Nellie thought, it was definitely him. She should call him junior student. He had been deceiving her for so long. Gerard was also very unhappy, because he really wanted to crush Simon in order to improve his name at the university. Everything went down the drain. Gerard was hoping that the guys would beat Simon so that he could beat him in the next round. Someone asked, since Simon was at the highest level of rank 2, why don't they team up and defeat him? The guys liked this strategy and decided to do it this way. The voice belonged to one player. His voice has a powerful, mesmerizing force, and he seems to have mental elemental abilities. The guy's name is Steve. He has A-rank mental element abilities. He convinced the guys to unite against Simon. He not only shared his thoughts, but also somehow began to control others. The deans thought his skills were good, and his strategy was good too. Steve was a student of one of the deans. And here's that dean. He taught combat tactics. He said that Steve was just unlucky. You shouldn't take it too seriously. Luck is part of strength. The deans thought Simon was in trouble. Apparently they didn't know he was the main character. Steve continued to order the guys around. He said if Simon had knocked him out before that, as he said the second sentence, Simon would have had a chance. But now everyone is following him. Simon asked why the guy thought he was at a disadvantage. He created lightning. Then Steve ordered the warriors with close combat skills to stand forward, and the warriors with long-range attack skills to attack. And for warriors with the support skill of strengthening others, the strategy was really not bad. It's just a pity that they are all secondary characters, so they will definitely lose to the main one. As expected, the protagonist needed only one trick to get rid of the attacks. And with that same attack, he destroyed the wall that the students had built as protection. All the students immediately decided to give up. None of them had the will to win. Lightning gathered and a large explosion occurred, and spectators filmed the whole thing on camera. There was a real explosion in the arena, and the spectators were worried about the students who were there. But fortunately, Ava managed to activate the protection, so Simon's bloodthirstiness did not achieve its goal. Steve screwed up. He thought that if he hadn't provoked Simon, he could have won. Now he won't be able to go to the second stage of the competition. Steve shouted to the guys to continue. There is no need to worry about him. Steve decided that if he couldn't win, he would drag Simon along with him, and everyone under hypnosis attacked Simon. Of course, nothing in the world could defeat Simon, who was stronger than them all. Simon created a huge bolt of lightning, and it struck every student who attacked him. Blocks all elemental energy attacks using just the use of abilities. Steve was upset that none of his plans worked. Now he was left with nothing. However, like the others, they considered it unfair that someone like Simon would participate with them. But Simon's friends were not bothered by anything. They rejoiced at his victory, and did not doubt him for a second. The deans discussed Simon's abilities and weapons. They thought he trained a lot. How naive. They don't know about the system. Madam said it was a pity that Yana wasn't here now. They could ask him about Simon. The students didn't know what to do. They couldn't break through the defenses, and they wouldn't be able to escape. It seemed that the students' despair only amused our hero. He decided to get rid of them. He ran up to them in an instant and struck each student with a lightning bolt. The rest of the guys decided to unite again against a common enemy in order to get out. As expected, Simon really enjoyed seeing the other kids despair. Shouting that the students were slow and weak, Simon hit one student after another, and then he complained that they were too weak. The battle quickly ended, of course, with Simon winning. The students were defeated, and Simon added insult to injury by calling them weak. Ava announced that the second round was over and Simon had moved on to the next stage, but suddenly stopped. The dean said all contestants except Simon would be re-entering to give them a chance. Finally, at least one person in this world did something fair, and didn't just stare at Simon. As expected, everyone else became Simon's fans and no one suspected him of anything. The dean thought that Simon seemed to have an incredible talent for mastery of the spear. She originally wanted him to enter the Elemental Academy, but it seems there is no need for that. Then there's no need to worry about the freshman research trip this semester. Gerard thought that Simon was just a coward who could only defeat the weak and frighten them with his strength. He found Simon annoying. He couldn't take it anymore. and he thought he would have 3 chances in the second stage. Simon's friends would be in the next round. He wished them good luck. Tim replied that getting into the top 5 is not that difficult. In the second round, Tim was the 4th place winner, who eliminated 9 participants. In the 6th round, Charlie's friend took 3rd place, eliminating 12 participants. Finally, it was Charlie's turn, and everyone in the audience froze, wondering how strong she was. Of course, men were interested in something else. And it wasn't weapons, in general. Men are the same all over the world. The round began. Charlie created the light of dawn and began to get rid of the students. Julius noticed her potential and ordered Charlie to be designated as their club's 2nd target. And Charlie continued to score points by eliminating students in completely normal poses. She only used light magic, dawn dance, and gravity strike combat technique. Used the latest technique, it caused all the students to be imprinted on the arena. So Charlie took 1st place in her round, beating out 45 competitors. After leaving the arena, her friends congratulated her. Simon said that the combination of her magical techniques and close combat techniques were excellent, and that he was waiting for her in the 2nd stage. 2 hours later, the arena was prepared for the 2nd stage. Each student will have 3 chances to compete with anyone to take their place, those who did not make it into the top 50. If they can't challenge him, Gerard thought, it would be better to forget about Simon and choose another target for the competition. Gerard didn't have time to think about his opponent for long. He heard Simon tell Eva that he wanted to fight Gerard. Then Gerard shouted, "Simon is in 1st place. Why should he fight for 3rd?" Simon replied, "The halts don't say that only the lower-ranked participants can challenge." Moreover, Gerard did not think that he was one of those who could be provoked so easily. People started saying that Gerard was insolent, so Simon challenged him, and Eva determined the place for the battle, so Gerard had to accept his fate. Of course, everyone gathered to watch Simon's battle. For some reason, in this world, everyone loves Simon for nothing. Eva asked the participants to get ready and began the countdown before the start. Gerard transformed into a beast, a bloody lion king. It was an A-rank ability, a stronger version, Gerard shouted. Simon himself forced it on him before he attacked him. Simon replied that he did not force Gerard to do anything. It was all his arrogance that was to blame, which was hypocrisy on Simon's part. After the hypocritical statement, Simon instantly found himself behind Gerard and prepared to attack. Gerard noticed him and turned around, shouting, daring to attack him head-on with his lightning technique. Apparently he really wanted to die. He attacked Simon, but Simon blocked the blow with his spear. It called forth a powerful energy that Gerard felt. Then he realized that he could not defeat Simon. He was weaker. From these thoughts, Gerard froze in one place. Simon took advantage of this and attacked his opponent with divine thunder. Gerard was unable to deflect, block, or simply run away from the attack, so lightning struck him, and Gerard screamed in pain. Even the audience wondered how much pain Gerard must be in now, and Simon is more insidious, using force to torture Gerard. So Eva can't count this as a defeat. Simon's bloodthirstiness grows like his ego every day. Eva finally declared Simon's victory. But Simon was still not satisfied. He wanted to torment Gerard even longer. He hoped that Gerard would never forget him again. The roasted Gerard barely got up and was glad that he was able to survive. In the last minute he thought that he would not last until the end. Just when he thought it was finally all over, Charlie suddenly announced that she was challenging Gerard, even though he had only finished one battle. But it seems the system considered this a completely fair choice and Gerard got his ass kicked again. Having finished off the wounded man, Charlie walked down from the arena, and her friends praised her for her fight. Simon and Charlie became such good friends that it left students and spectators whispering about whether there was something between them. The boys were angry that the new goddess of their school was already taken, and by none other than Simon, a CC rank monster. 4 hours later, time is up. The freshman competition is officially over, and they will now announce the final results, which will not surprise us in any way. After the announcement of places, students were asked to go to the school's official website and choose an academy. Charlie asked what class Simon chose. Simon answered, Weapons Academy 1st year, 2nd group. And he asked what she chose. Charlie answered, Academy of Elements, 1st year, 3rd group. The sorting is over. The opening ceremony and freshman competition are officially over. Also, those students who performed well in the competition will receive messages with offers of mentoring from their personal managers. The guys left the building. Simon asked why they didn't all have lunch together. Charlie offered Simon to treat them since he took 1st place. Simon agreed. Then Julius came and asked Simon to wait. Simon asked who he was. Julius introduced himself and said that he was the president of the Shooting Star Club and that he would like to invite Simon to join them. Of course, they will treat him with all honors, since Simon is the only SS-ranked student who can take the place of vice president. Will receive 100 credits and 1 resource per class each semester. People noticed their conversation and started staring. Before Simon could answer Julius, someone suddenly asked the vice president if Julius was too stingy. It was Wolf. He said that if Simon joined their club, he could become the reserve president of the club. After his release, Simon will become president. Simon will not miss out on any benefits. The Shooting Star Club is subordinate to the guild. According to the guild charter, the club president is appointed by the guild. Julius cannot offer such conditions. Simon thought for a moment and said that he needed time to think. He would be able to give them an answer in a couple of days. In his past life, he joined the student council and was even its chairman. But in the end, all these council matters took up a lot of time. It's better to choose carefully in a situation like this. Julius and Wolf simultaneously held out their cards. Also, Julius gave his number to Simon's friends. Wolf picked up the idea and also said that they could come to them. The offer didn't end there. Several more people gathered to invite Simon to join their clubs. The boys barely managed to escape from this excited crowd. They stopped to rest. At that moment, Nellie appeared and greeted Simon, but this time she called him a junior student. Simon introduced Nellie and told her that they met her in the wilderness area. Nellie said hello to everyone. Of course, Tim didn't need to introduce Nellie. He knew perfectly well who she was, and he couldn't stop staring. Charlie also introduced herself. Nellie thought that Charlie was a charming beauty. She wanted to be friends with her, and perhaps even more than being friends. As soon as she thought about it, she felt ashamed, and she shook off these thoughts. Charlie said that they were going to a cafe. Simon was treating them and invited Nellie to go with them. Nellie agreed. The guys gathered and raised their glasses in honor of the end of the freshman competition. Girls started clinging to Simon, as if successful and beautiful girls had nothing better to do than to grovel before an average guy. The rest of the guys felt awkward about this scene and decided to get away as quickly as possible. They stood up and said that they were going for a walk, and without waiting for an answer, they quickly left. Of course, the girls only needed 1 glass to get drunk because they were so innocent. Simon decided that alcohol only caused problems. So Simon suggested finishing up the drinks and taking them home, because he was such a gentleman that he couldn't bear to think about anything bad. After he took them home, Simon returned to the dorm where he met his homeroom teacher. She brought him his award for winning the freshman competition. The safe can be opened with a fingerprint. Later, she will send him the group number. From now on, she can turn to him for any question. She will definitely help. She needed to notify the others, and that's why she left. Tim quickly went down and was bursting with curiosity. He wanted to know what happened between him and the girls. Simon asked why there should be any conflict between them. Tim did not expect that everything went well, so he was upset. While Tim was muttering something under his breath, Simon decided to open his gift, and the box opened by itself. Another spatial ring. Simon brought his spear to check if it would fit. Finally, Simon will be able to run without a heavy spear on his back. The ring prevented 10 cubic meters. Now Simon had 3 spatial rings. Tim was a little jealous, but at least he got to this place honestly. Simon said he had a few more rings. He decided to go to the equipment department tomorrow. They should be able to return them back. Suddenly, Simon noticed a pill at the bottom of the box and asked what it was for. There were no instructions. Tim didn't know what the pill was either, so he called Ava to identify it. Eva explained that it was a 5th-tier mind-focusing pill produced by the university's pharmaceutical department. Useful for warriors of the 5th rank and below. After taking it, mental strength increases significantly. Development resource of rank A. Eva can identify animal materials and rare exotic plants. Simon wanted to take Ava to the wilderness area. Tim said that there were similar devices in the store, so Simon decided to find something like that later. But now he is on the 2nd floor. Physical strength and mental strength are 2 main characteristics. The more of them, the longer a warrior's abilities last, and the stronger he becomes. But it is also extremely difficult to develop them. It becomes harder and harder. At first the skills improved by 1 unit, then by 2. Cultivation becomes increasingly expensive. Simon again relies on pills and other trinkets to raise his level. Having saved 500 ability points, the effect of the pill was quite good. Simon decided to practice for 2 hours before going to bed. In the morning, after selling the rings, his account was replenished to hundreds of millions, and he was even able to accumulate a small fortune. People with superpowers really do earn that much. Simon is number 43, and now he's only 14. Simon thought that he would wait here for at least an hour and decided to raise his stats a little, but then he met Nellie. They said hello, and Simon asked how Nellie was feeling after yesterday. Nellie answered awkwardly, "Not bad." Then she asked if he was here to sell the rare plants they found in the cave. Simon replied, "Not quite. He would like to find someone who can make medicine out of them. It's better than selling them." Nellie reminded that she is a pharmacist. She has a level 2 pharmacist license and can easily prepare several level 2 medications. She also no longer plans to travel to the wilderness to film content, and has decided to change her career to pharmacist. After that incident, she decided that the wild zone was not for her. He would film about the making of potions and medicines. Simon said that she could lose a lot of viewers. Nellie knew this herself. She was an orphan. Her parents died at the clutches of a wild animal. After she awakened her A-rank ice elemental powers, she worked hard to get into university, but her finances were poor. After one of her videos went viral, she received a lot of offers, but what she really enjoys is research. Luck was on her side that time, but who knows what will happen next, so she decided to change everything. Simon wished her luck, and he asked if a person with ice elemental abilities could become a pharmacist. Nellie replied that he didn't know much about it. There are special cauldrons that convert energy into flame, and Simon's abilities can also be useful in making potions. Then Simon said that he would leave these plants to her. Nellie asked if he wanted her to help him. Since Simon trusted her so much, she would not let him down. She would prepare the medicine in a week, Nellie promised. Before Simon could answer, someone wrote him a message. Let's go back to Jan's house. The guy said that before returning, he saw a lot of news about their junior on the official website of the university. The girl added that she saw it too. Lee said that they would soon find out for themselves. Simon would definitely shock them. Then the girl said that she would like to see this for herself. She thought that Lei was too impressionable, which is why he praised Simon so much. The message was from Ian. Simon came running as soon as he received the message. He said hello to Ian. And just as he wanted to say hello to Lei, he saw that he was sitting on a chair. Then he asked what had happened to him. Lei replied, "It was the 8th rank master who lured the beasts. Wang used the Grey Guild as bait. The guild suffered heavy losses, and Lei was seriously injured. He fought with Wang, although he did not win. But Wang did not leave unharmed. That is why Yan and Lei were not at the competition." Simon shouted, "An 8th rank master can move mountains and fill the seas. Is that really possible?" Then he thought, he is only at the 2nd rank. In Lei's place, he would just become cannon fodder. In this world, if you are not strong, you will be crushed by those who are stronger. Ian told Simon not to think about it too much. He wanted to introduce Simon to the 3rd years, Cecile and Ten, the first girl in clothes. Progress. Ten said, "This is a 4th-tier primordial energy pill. It can greatly increase mana absorption efficiency." Cecile said that she simply transferred 2,000 credits to Simon's account, and after receiving the gifts, Simon thanked his elders. Lei said that the elders doubted what he said. Let him say that Simon had mastered 4 martial skills. Simon replied, "Yes, that's right." The elders asked how he did it, how he managed to reach the highest level of the 2nd rank and master the skills at the same time. The elders knew it was impossible because they had really worked hard to achieve success, while Simon had simply downloaded his skills. Simon couldn't say that he was just a crook, so he lied that he had good intuition, and for some reason, that was enough for his elders to believe him. Ian said he had always admired Simon's intuition and tenacity, which was non-existent, and Ian invited Simon to a celebratory banquet. But Simon said that he would like him to help him test the combat skill, CC rank lower thunder armor. Teacher Yang didn't mind reminiscing about their youth, so they immediately went to the training field. The elders followed them and Ten asked if Simon had really learned this skill. Lei replied that from what he knew, Simon was not lying. Cecile said that now she could finally understand what kind of monster Simon was. There was no point in admiring an ordinary crook. After downloading the skill, Simon donned the lightning armor, then told the teacher that he could attack. Yan was also excited. He created his lightning and shouted to Simon that he would start attacking with the power of the 3rd rank. The old man threw a ball of lightning at Simon, and it suddenly grew larger, then exploded on the spot. Simon's armor was able to withstand this blow, so Simon told the teacher to attack harder. It was not enough. The teacher seemed to be amused by this, and shouted that he would increase the attack power. Let him tell him if it became too difficult. As promised, the teacher did not hold back. He began to hit Simon twice as hard, then 4 times as hard. On the 10th blow, Simon could no longer withstand it and fell. The armor itself crumbled. Then the teacher stopped. Then he said, "Not bad. It was an attack of a lower-level warrior of the 4th rank. It is about 10 times stronger than an attack of the 3rd rank. To penetrate the armor, a warrior of at least the 4th rank would be required." The elders watched the battle and, to put it mildly, were shocked. They couldn't understand how Simon had jumped 2 ranks to withstand a 4th rank attack, so Yang suggested they get something to eat. However, Simon was still not satisfied, so he said that this was not the limit, and transformed into the form of a demon. "Extreme thunder state," Lei asked. Simon managed to develop a thunder indestructible body, up to the 3rd level. Cecile thought, Her indestructible thunder body was only at the second level. And Simon had not only developed 4 skills, but he was able to develop the state of this body to an extreme state, and Jan was very happy and shouted. He kept wondering why Simon had so easily withstood a blow 10 times stronger. It turned out that Simon had brought his condition to the 3rd level. 3 minutes later, Simon was out of breath. But of course they won't show us this, the teacher said, 20 times. To break his armor, it would take a mid-level 4th rank power, a fact that Simon managed to achieve. Simon really exceeded his expectations. Simon thanked the teacher. Now Simon knows exactly what level his armor has reached. The teacher said that of all his students, Simon was the one he could worry about the least, because Simon was a quick learner. Then he said that they were done with training for the day, so it was time to go eat. They could order all the most expensive things. In the car, Simon asked Lei for advice on which club he should join. Lei replied, Shooting Star. Ten said he thought Lei would invite Simon to his Ash Club. Lei replied that if the guild hadn't gotten into such trouble, he would have done so. The teacher said that Simon could be in the club for a couple of years and then create his own, which could be joined by older or younger members. After graduation, they will become the first members of his own base. Simon asked if the base was really necessary. The teacher asked if Simon knew why he couldn't reach the rank of Grand Master. Because he doesn't have his own faction, he has to do everything on his own. And this takes a lot of time. Having the strength to solve problems allows you to focus exclusively on your own cultivation. Simon thanked the teacher for the instruction. The next day, classes began and things began to improve at school. The teacher spoke about the origin of animals, about how hundreds of years ago the primordial energy awakened on the blue planet. It turned out that after the release of primordial energy, people discovered many ruins of ancient civilizations underground. Most of the planet's advanced technology, including the ability detection device, is the creation of those ancient civilizations. Next in order came the class on weapons, then on the elements, and during the lesson on the elements, Simon was called to the board, where he showed a good ability to shape, but Simon did not want to linger in this class. On weekends, he would go to the wilderness area to practice his downloaded skills and earn more points. Simon spent 1,000 credits to buy a new spear. Now he has new knowledge, new methods, new equipment, and his fighting abilities have improved. It's a pity that the plus sign doesn't appear in the ability column. If he improves my other points, then my abilities should improve as well. At home, Charlie revealed that she had been practicing ability control for years, and Simon was able to surpass her in a few days. Not at all suspicious. There's a joint event with Superpower University next week, and Charlie asked if Simon would be involved. Simon replied that he had heard that it would all take place in a wilderness area, so of course he would participate. A week later, the students gathered in one place. Simon and his friends discussed their strategy. The guys were confident that this year their university would be able to beat the others. A woman I knew came out of the gate and said she would hold a meeting regarding this trip to the wilderness area. The destination of this exploration trip is Zone Number 7, the Devil's Lair, located deep in the mountains. Hearing the names, the boys began to whisper. That's what they call only those places where a large number of people with superpowers died. Liana said that she would personally lead the team on the trip. Each university would provide curators, and senior management would also allocate funds to the universities. Resource parties are based on the rating of all participants. First place is decisive, as the status of their university depends on it. Liana assigned Simon this task, and then said that she had to warn them in advance. According to the latest news, Qing University has recruited a foreign SS-ranked expert, and people are worried and started discussing this news. He is an exchange student from the country of Zedu. His name is Kiran, and he has the ability of the SS-ranked enhancement element. Lower level 3rd rank, well, how will Simon deal with an opponent of his level? Liana said that this information was collected by Eva. It is reliable. But unlike them, this participant is already 20 years old. The students began to argue that he was 2 years older than them, and that it was unfair. As if everything that had happened before had been fair. They should have gotten used to injustice long ago as soon as Simon came to them. Simon thought he had 3 CC rank combat skills at his disposal, and this competition was all about the number and level of beasts killed. Simon was sure of this. Liana noticed that Simon was not at all nervous and was glad. The attraction of an international student was undoubtedly motivated by the fact that the university that took first place would receive priority in the allocation of resources. Liana said that this would be the end of their introductory meeting. There were 7 days left before the trip. She advised them to prepare. 7 days later, Nellie, as promised, prepared all the medicines, all of them 2nd level, 20 tablets in each bottle. Simon thanked Nellie for trying so hard to make these drugs and said that no more was needed. He would buy pills on the streets. Nellie asked how the purchased medicines compare to those she prepared herself. She guarantees that each of them has a powerful effect. And she prepared 2 sets for Simon to give to Charlie. Simon became curious. So he asked when they managed to become so close. Nellie answered that it was a secret. They need to give it their all during the test. But she asks them to be careful. 160 second-level pills, to process that much in a week. Nellie definitely didn't sleep for 3 or 4 nights. He needs to get stronger quickly to prepare for tomorrow. All the students gathered on the field, 856 of them. Simon didn't expect that almost all the freshmen would sign up for this trip. They would be using a plane for their trip, Charlie asked, because there wasn't even an airstrip here. At that moment, a huge, unusually shaped airplane appeared in the sky. It must have been magical, since it arrived silently. Then, by some miracle, it landed without knocking anyone down, and the students stood in front of this huge plane and waited for the dean. This airship was found among the ruins of an ancient civilization. Liana finally came and told all the newbies to come on board. The students climbed on board one by one. Then Liana rose above the airship and created a spatial barrier. At that moment, the floor of the airship became transparent. Liana is a real great master of the 8th level. This spatial barrier allows the airship to exist independently of external space. As Simon expected, only high-ranking people are capable of destroying the notion of reality. It seems our hero may become a villain. When they landed, a man met them and said that he was allocating 2 dormitories for them each, and they could move in after receiving their cards. The children were given their room cards, and each of them began to say what floor and room they were on. Of course, by pure coincidence, Simon and Charlie were placed in adjacent rooms. Simon said he needed to go unpack, but first he would check out the training room. Charlie said she knew Simon would say that and added that she would go with him. When they arrived at the gym, Charlie immediately noticed the exchange student who was training there. As soon as Kieran saw Simon, he dropped his dumbbells and ran to say hello to Simon. The other students, instead of training, stared at him and talked about how strong Kieran was. Simon extended his hand to shake, but Kieran had already turned his attention to Charlie and greeted her. Then Simon decided to play it cool, and told Kieran not to approach a woman while he was covered in sweat. As always, he scolds others for what he himself often does, and the 2 guys began to measure their strength. Then Simon said that he advised studying local etiquette and observing traditions. Simon and Charlie left, and Kieran was lost in thought. He couldn't even move Simon from his spot, and he has lightning elemental abilities. And of course, only Simon in this world always has good intentions, and the others, of course, are villains automatically. Kieran decided to get Charlie by any means necessary, and Charlie offered to spar with Simon. An hour later, the guys left the cafe, and the man next to them was saying that the animals were destroying their world, and that a real catastrophe was approaching. People passed by and did not listen to him. After the monsters appeared, various religious fanatics kept talking about the end of the world. There were so many different people gathered here. It was no wonder that cults began to emerge here, and the man seemed to be enraged that no one listened to him. He started muttering that no one believed him. Now he realized it was because the price they paid wasn't high enough. And to prove that he was not crazy, the man attacked a mother and child who were passing by. Of course, it was time for Simon to once again prove he was the hero by brutally cutting off a man's head. It seems that in this world no one is punished for killing people, or only our special hero. Charlie said it was strange. Usually people like that just propagate their teachings, but don't resort to violence. Don't resort to violence. Simon needs to be taught this too. A strange guy was spotted in the crowd. It looks like this man has accomplices. At night, that suspicious man came to his master and said that he had conducted an investigation. The killer of their club member was Simon. The Archbishop asked if he was the same SS-ranked elite fighter from Madu University, and the man replied, yes. Simon awakened his abilities during the exam. Less than half a year had passed, and he had already reached the highest level of the 2nd rank. Then the Archbishop warned that Simon could become a problem for them. He gave something to the man and said that divine blood was about to be spilled in this area. This was a device for tracking it. In a month, their sect will reveal itself to the world. Then let Simon and the other elite fighters from all 3 universities become victims of their sect. The next day, the deputy rector introduced himself and said that their test would begin today at 9 in the morning and would be completed in a month. Now they will distribute smart bracelets to them, with the help of which all records of animal killings will be recorded. The 1,000 participants who score the highest number of points will receive prizes. In particular, the top 3 participants will be able to choose any vehicle. In addition, the overall first-place winner will receive an additional award from their university. There are no restrictions on team formation in this competition, the rector added, and he will give them the remaining time. The guys started shouting, a team of 5, Qing University. They need another support warrior. Everyone was looking for people. The guy suggested that Simon form a band with them, but Simon replied that he would not join, but would rather form his own. Charlie approached him and asked what he was talking about, if he wanted to go alone. Simon replied that his goal was the central part of the territory. Working in a group will only delay him. Animals of the 1st to 3rd rank live along the perimeter, and those of the 3rd to 5th in the central part. Charlie said that if she went to the central territory, she would definitely die. But the road to the central part would take a couple of days, so Simon suggested going together. At that moment, Karen came in and said that he was looking forward to Simon demonstrating his abilities. Simon said, 100% he will beat him for sure. Throwing out a cheeky phrase, Simon left. The deputy rector warned that the test officially begins right now. As soon as the doors opened, the students ran forward, each one ready to give it their all. 7 hours later, in the wilderness area, Simon and Charlie were still wandering through the forest when they spotted the monsters. Despite the fact that these pangolins belong to the 2nd rank of animals, their fur is harder than an E-rank alloy. Simon, as always, wanted to look impressive, so he asked Charlie to let him handle it. The monsters attacked one by one, and Simon killed them. With the new spear, it was easier for him to fight. Charlie watched everything from a distance and thought that each spear strike was aimed at a weak point. For killing 12 2nd-rank pangolins, a total of 270 points were received. When it was all over, Charlie came down and said she would help him, and said his abilities were different from others. Other warriors with his abilities always use their powers recklessly, but Simon is very reserved and careful in using his power. Simon replied that if he used Divine Thunder, he could defeat the beasts faster, but that was unnecessary. It was almost dark. Simon suggested finding a place to rest, and tomorrow they would set off again. Using the device, Simon discovered that there was a water source nearby. In the wilderness, it is near water sources that animals most often gather. It's not far from here. They can defeat more monsters before it gets dark, Simon suggested. When they got there, Simon asked what was going on. It was impossible that there wasn't a single animal near the water source. At that moment, a huge tiger approached the source and began to drink water. The boys watched this. Suddenly, a huge crocodile swam up to the tiger and attacked the tiger cub. He didn't have a chance against the crocodile. This means that a terrible beast, similar to a giant crocodile, lives here. It is not surprising that the animals did not dare to come here for water. Charlie replied, "It was a 4th-rank beast. For some reason the beasts didn't notice the guys. Perhaps they don't have a sense of smell or hearing." Simon stated that although the 4th-rank beast was strong, he could handle it, of course. No one else could. Because our hero is so special, Simon said he killed several of them when he was in the wilderness. Indestructible Thunder Body is a strong technique, but to deal with 4th-rank beasts, he has a more effective technique. There was a sound of thunder, and then Simon began to sparkle. It was the technique of heavenly lightning. He hit him in the crocodile. One giant 4th-rank water crocodile was killed. Only one hit was needed for our special hero. The amount of points obtained from killing a rank 4 monster is 5 times greater than that from killing a rank 3 beast. It seems like the system is designed to constantly increase its limits. Simon would be so special if it weren't for this system. Charlie couldn't believe that Simon was able to defeat the crocodile. She had never seen such a special, very special guy before. A huge crocodile was lying on the grass. Simon invited Charlie to come closer to it. The skin of this animal is worth at least 20 or 30 million. It's a pity that everything is ruined. Charlie said that her spatial ring is large enough, so she will take the body and return it as soon as they return to base. The animals in the area probably know how dangerous this water source is. Almost no one comes here to drink, so there is no point in staying here. Simon suggested finding a cave, but for some reason Charlie decided to wash himself, and Simon decided to check if there were any more animals in the water. He struck the water with lightning and it began to ooze blood, Simon thought. It smells so delicious. Why is the water so mesmerizing? An Akatsuki squad was walking through the forest, searching for the source of water using a device. A source that Simon had found purely by chance. There is the blood of the ancient dragon god. As always, Simon received abilities by accident. The men shouted that their sect would grow and rule the world. The leader shouted, "Be silent." The divine blood appeared ahead of time. "Just nearby, no rest tonight." Then the men started running. Charlie asked. The water turned red. Simon asked. She feels how this water beckons to itself. Then Charlie replied, she had read that this water carried powerful energy, and it was very similar to his. Simon thought, then he absorbed the highest grade resource, the blood essence of the 8th level Thunder Dragon. He decided to go into the water and said he would check, and if he noticed anything wrong, let him pull it out. As soon as our special hero stepped into the water, blood rose up and enveloped him. Simon thought it was as pleasant as if a traveler who had been tormented by thirst for 10 days had finally seen clean water. Charlie thought that Simon seemed to be in a vulnerable position and would not be able to move from his spot. The next day, Charlie fought monsters all night to protect Simon. The color of the water had changed a lot during this time. It seemed Simon was almost finished, Charlie thought. At that moment, the Akatsuki arrived. They noticed Charlie and that the water was already a different color and thought, "What is the second-best student of the University Madu doing here?" And Charlie thought, "Their clothes do not look like university uniforms at all." She shouted, "There are no animals here, and the water source is polluted." The man interrupted her, shouting, "How dare she call her dirty? This is the highest divine blood." Charlie realized that they had come just to the red water. The leader was 4th rank. In order to protect herself, she took out some kind of talisman, which instantly enveloped her. The man said, "A guardian talisman. These are extremely rare talismans. They can save lives." Charlie shouted at him. If they knew what this was, why were they still here? Why were they wasting their time? The man replied that, as far as he knew, talismans had time limits on their effect. They were in no hurry. They can wait. It's strange that the sectarians decided to just wait, instead of just getting into the water. They probably weren't smart enough for this, because an hour later the talisman stopped working. The man said he advised her to do the wise thing and give the talisman to him. Otherwise she would die a terrible death. Charlie decided to fight, when suddenly a voice was heard. Why did he have a feeling that they would be the ones to die? Our special hero came out, who, like the Winx fairy, got out of the circle, and of course he became even stronger than usual.